Wensley Threedale.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 20th of June 2010. Welcome to our E3 special discussing the Electronic Entertainment Expo. Joining me, I'm Dan Train, and joining me as ever, Robert Kemp.
Yo!
And Zachary Burgess.
Words. Lots of them.
Lots of words.
You call this an E3 special, but really this is pretty much just on schedule for when our normal podcast would have been.
That's true. I wanted to do it a little bit earlier, but never mind. Now E3 is officially over and all the news is out the way that's fit to print, so we can
not
delve
print
in.
it. So we can talk about it instead.
Other people can print it, and we can talk about it. Yes. And you've been desperately reading as much as you can in the past 5 minutes, so you can tell what to talk about.
Or Rob has.
No, I've just been catching up the last few bits. I've been
just that there's so
aware.
much, isn't there? It's just an explosion in the gaming calendar. An explosion of news and craziness, and so much stuff comes out so quickly, and you just have to, process it as fast as you can. So we're going to try and do that. Do some processing. So see how we go, shall we? So, should we go through the press conferences? How about that? Or how should we do this? Because normally I ask what you've been playing, but I thought we'd discuss some of the new things. Yeah,
I reckon in a way you should just go sort of just randomly pick out topics that stuck in our head. That'd be a good one.
Okay.
What were the most poignant moments for you?
Poignant?
That's a word.
I know it's a word, but I don't think it's a word you'd exactly describe here's some news coming out of E3. Oh, that's so poignant.
Poignant piece of news. Poignant piece of gaming.
It's ponderative.
That's definitely not a word.
No. What? I don't know.
Because it's not ponderous news. The news itself isn't
salient.
pondering.
Unless it's slow. Unless it's very slow news, then it could be ponderous.
Is that a good word, though? What about salient points? Yeah,
Salient.
it's a weird word, isn't it? Salient. Isn't a salient like a promontory or something? Like something sticking out into the sea?
Where you sail to. I'm sailing to the salient.
Sailing to the salient. Oh, I don't know. Salient points. No, I think it is. I think it's as a salient points as an analogy with things sticking into the sea. It's like they're the important points because you might run into them with your boat. So they're the salient points. I think that may be right. Okay, I'm going to say a topic. Okay, how about that? And we shall discuss. Okay.
Boom.
Start
there
with Natal, or as it is now known, Connect.
Shittest name ever. Boo!
Yeah, boo.
It's even worse than the name they made the first time.
Even if it was about birth control.
Do you really think the name Connect is worse than the name Wii?
Natal. Oh, no.
Yes.
Well, at least Wii was kind of like completely unexpected. Connect is just boring.
Well, when I just now when Rob was reading the news and I looked at the word Connect, that wasn't exactly how I was thinking it was spelled. Even though I knew how it was spelled, that wasn't it. I'd heard it and I was like, I know it's obviously it's like an obvious stupid word that's made up of kinetic, where it's like, oh, because you move around, and then connect. It's like, but that just doesn't look right.
Well, it doesn't sound right that there's not really much of a connection. The idea is that it's completely unconnected, isn't it?
Yes, but you're connecting kinetically.
You're connecting with the experience, you see, of the game. So it's like Link in Zelda. Link is named Link because he's your link into the game world, isn't he? That's why he was originally named that. It's the same kind of logic.
It's a terrible reason.
And they only had 4 characters. And
that's the other reason.
Sorry?
They probably only had 4 characters back in the NES days as well for like names.
I'm not sure. I think even in the first one you could set your own name. I'm not sure. You certainly can these days, can't you? So Link is completely superfluous apart from for use in fandom. But yes, the Kinect. But have you seen any of the games for it then? Have you seen any of the excited about any of that stuff?
Well, I saw a bit about the Metal Gear Solid Rising thing with the.
Is that
supposedly Xbox?
Kinect?
I think so. I think they were saying. Well, yeah, I think it was to do with the fact that it was sort of play, wasn't it? Or it'd always been sort of toyed with as being an Xbox exclusive, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, well,
am I getting very confused?
Well, I saw a trailer about it, and I'm not surprised if people are confused about this. I might have to go and check this myself, but it looks like a Kinect game because, yes, it's about swords and it's about you can cut at any angle, or because you play as Raiden or whatever. I don't know the Metal Gear Solid.
You need to cut
stuff.
someone in half, and then you need to cut that half in half.
Exactly, but the footage I saw was like you hold down a button and it goes into bullet time or whatever, and then you have like a plane that you can see for cutting, and then you can turn it using. And so it looked like it's using a standard controller, and then when you released, he cut through that plane or whatever as one of the things. So that's obviously not like a Kinect motion control or even Wii Motion Plus sort of move, is it? That's just I mean, it would make sense to use that. Yeah, exactly. But it did look really cool, I have to say, all the cutting, and also it really gory, like because you can cut anywhere and on people as well. It's like the Star Wars prequels, they had those battle droids so that the Jedi could just cut people in half without literally cutting people in half because that would be too gory. Well, this is just cut people in half. Yeah, totally.
Do it some more,
Yeah, you can cut people and then their arms fly off or whatever, and then you can cut that again before it hits the ground and stuff like that.
Make sure the hand is perfectly severed from the rest of the arm. It's a requirement. We just can't have it all in one place.
But this is like old Soldier of Fortune days terms of sort of gore, isn't it? With individually modelled body parts. And do you remember that?
The what? Oh, Soldier of Fortune.
Yeah. First-person shooter.
That was quite funny. Cause, they made a big deal of the fact that they had layers of flesh or something, and you could like shoot into them and eventually get to bone level.
Yeah, and now we have
basically all it meant is that you didn't really see those layers. The end result was basically you shot at someone's hand, it fell off,
or alternatively you slightly nudged them and then they just exploded for some reason because it was hella buggy.
It wasn't very good, was it? But this does look good. I'm not.
They tried to shock you with pictures of cows with half of their insides missing.
Ew.
And then an artist came along and did that instead.
But this isn't really a Metal Gear-y sort of stealthy game, the way it looks. It looks like you can just literally cut through metal columns and stuff like that. Just cause everything to just explode around you just by cutting it. So I actually think it looked really cool.
I don't know. It depends what they do with it, really. If it ends up being an MGS4 style story, then that might be taking the piss somewhat. But
yeah,
I can't. I'm a bit confused as what they could do past the gimmick, though. Is like, I know there's a certain purpose, as you have to require the spines of people or something, and that's why you're cutting them up. But, there's some shots.
This game sounds lovely.
Yeah, it does. It sounds beautiful. But I'm not quite sure what the cutting mechanic is for, other than just a fancy sort of tech demo thing. The actual gameplay is really going to be very little to do with the ability to slice and dice.
I don't know.
Now we're doing it. Seemed like it was Maybe there'll be a slap chop as one of the unlockable weapons.
That would be incredibly ineffective.
You're going to love my nuts.
Shall we think of some actual Kinect games, though? Because I think that one...
Child of Eden. Child of Eden.
So this is effectively motion control Res, isn't it?
Yeah, a proper Res sequel. Holy crap.
It's spiritual, but it definitely looked like Res to me. I don't know about you.
Well, yes. Well, the fact that it's called Child of Eden itself is a hell of a reference.
I think it is. I think it is almost a sequel, because I've heard it's like you're battling AIs and stuff. It sounds almost exactly like Res.
Yeah.
But
control scheme sounds interesting though, because you sort of have to. Apparently, you can use normal controllers as well, but apparently you put your hands up and sort of where they are determines the targeting cursors, and then you sort of gesture like you're flinging a disc at the screen or something to shoot. Seems to be the demo they showed.
That would be bad if you have to do it a lot though.
Yeah, you're like
flail madly at the screen.
That doesn't sound super precise.
Well, No, you get targeting cursor on screen, so you know where your hands are.
But with Res, you didn't have to be precise because it was just about dragging over the enemies to lock them on and then releasing.
Yeah, and they seem to be using that same style from what we can tell.
Okay. So that's looking good.
But the interesting thing is it might be because they showed the guy and using both arms. Maybe there's a sort of dual stick element to it, or.
Or maybe he was just hardcore and playing 2-player mode by himself.
Yeah.
It would be fun to involve both sort of hands in the experience, moving both around in the air in front of your TV.
I got to be honest. They might in the modern day they might have to do something a bit more than just Res, though. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
not that I have any problem with the mechanics of Res at all. It's just that they might need to, if they're going to capture most of the audience, there might need to be some new twists, or some other new mechanics, possibly motion based. But
well, we've yet to see what Tetsuya Misaguchi comes up with. I guess he's always got some tricks up his sleeve, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, and of course, the music itself and the levels, but the music is a big part of those games, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And the trailer did not disappoint.
Exactly. So that's cool.
Properly funky trance. Except not funky in the 70s sense, just good.
So would that entice you to purchase a Kinect, depending on the price?
That one game?
Well, possibly. Although the other thing is that obviously you don't need the Kinect to play Child of Eden. They are making it controller.
Oh, okay.
And I think they've talked about, they're sort of considering doing it for PlayStation Move as well. I don't think there was any sort of hard line, we're doing it for this yet. But
right.
But I'm definitely very interested in the game. Still, I've got to be honest, I'm still not 100% convinced by the idea of Kinect as a gaming platform.
Right, yeah.
Simply on the basis of what we talked about a few weeks back on the Wii, and that there's only so much you can do with motion.
Yeah, it's as you say, I'm not convinced about the Wii as a gaming platform, as it were. Certainly not a hardcore, not games that I am interested in, but...
No, I still think I still believe that there's potential perhaps in them, but that someone needs to come up with some seriously innovative ideas, and maybe Kinect is the way forward simply because it offers you the ability to perhaps have more complicated gestures than ever before.
That's true. The game I was most impressed by Kinect at the E3 that I saw was actually the harmonics dancing game, because it just looked like, it's not a hardcore game in any way, but it just looked like a brilliant party game. Just it's properly dancing. Have you seen it?
Well, yeah, it can do that now, doesn't it? Because it can track the body with some accuracy. In theory, you actually have to do the moves now in order for it to work.
Exactly.
It's not just shuffling your feet in some weird stunted stepping arrangement.
Because DDR, Dance Revolution, that's about as close to actually dancing as Guitar Hero is to, playing a real guitar solo, isn't it?
It's not far off. You wouldn't expect people, unless they were break dancers, to really dance like that the majority of the time, but sort of mysterious leg shuffling.
Yeah, it's like leg shuffling, whereas this could actually sort of, you have to move your arms in the right patterns and stuff, and it kind of comes up with a card that shows you what the next move is going to be coming up. A bit like, Tetris, this is the next shape.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think about that, actually, the whole what's coming next stuff, because obviously in DDR and Guitar Hero, you get a nice clear, this is the note you need to play, or this is the panel you need to step on.
Yeah, so the actual dance
actually
moves.
In a game with actual dancing, that could be fairly difficult to...
Yeah.
In a way, you'd actually have to learn what the moves are,
cards mean,
and then get prompted by a certain move.
I think that's how it works. So you can, so there's so many moves, card things in the game, and then they come up. But you'll probably have to have learned them first. But even if you can't, you can just sort of try and follow even if you don't know exactly what you're doing next, you can just try and follow the virtual representation on screen. Because there's a character on screen doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and then there's a very faint outline of what you are actually doing. But it's more about seeing what you're supposed to be doing, and then just copying it and dancing. And it will track one person, but at the booth they were showing it off, they were just encouraging other people to just stand aside and play along, even though they weren't, interacting with the game. They could still play along and do the dance moves.
I think someone said that, as part of that they will have support for 3 at a time.
Oh, really? What,
So
tracking using the Natal?
Yeah, so it will track 3 people.
That's really cool, actually. I mean, that really would be, because, I mean...
It's an awkward number, but I suppose that's space requirements.
It's going to be pretty difficult to get 3 people in anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not so bad having one lead sort of dancer for a song and then 2, like, backup dancers if you're in a party situation. You know, and, like... Cause
Saturday night karaoke thing.
I went over to John Barlow's house for Christmas a couple of years ago, and they had a Wii, and that was a real... casual gaming environment, because he's got 2 young sisters, and they didn't have Mad World or whatever it is. They had Wii Sports and stuff, and they had this game where you did
Probably
this dance
can't have been much
thing.
out back then anyway. So
yeah, it was a while ago, but they were enjoying the dancing, and then they had to twirl around or something. But it was like dance, and you'll get points. But of course, they were just all you had to do was waggle the thing around. It didn't have any actual. And I thought, wow, if they could, if you could really have a game actually do that. And this is what this Dance Central, and it's harmonics as well. So I trust them, given their pedigree with Guitar Hero and then Rock Band, to do something.
Probably
good.
Wouldn't attempt something that they didn't think they could pull off.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if because that's a lot of hardware for something, so there'll have to be a few more interesting things to get me interested in Connect. But at a party, I'd love that. It'd be so great, because people would get involved even if they were like, I don't want to dance. When they saw that, they'd get into it, I think. Which is cool. It's like
I'm not 100% convinced, but
well, I've seen
perhaps non-dancing games might be more likely.
Yeah. I don't know, because you look more stupid doing non-dancing games with the Kinect. I think dancing is one of the most dignified things you can do in front of Kinect, in a way, because all the other motions are going to look quite retarded to an onlooker. But at least dancing looks. I mean, it's meant to, the whole point of dancing is the physical motion looks good, right? Even if. Yeah, whereas other physical motions make you, in front to control a video game is going to make you look quite retarded, especially if it's, grabbing an invisible steering wheel and stuff like that. So, but I don't know. What do you think? I mean, did you see the Forza sort of thing? Forza Connect.
I didn't see it, but I heard of it. There you just literally hold your hands out and go. Vroom, vroom, vroom.
That's it.
Presumably you don't have to make that sound effect.
Yeah, although that would be funny.
The car.
The thing is, did it have the bit I didn't see was did it have pedal support somehow?
No.
So you have to see.
No.
There you go. That's crap. I want a wheel.
It was, but yeah, basically, because there was a previous demo with Natal where you had sort of some kind of support for acceleration and braking using your feet or something, but this one was literally just. The braking assist in Forza.
Oh, they had that on.
They literally applied it to acceleration as well.
Yeah,
so
I think there's that option in the game anyway.
So it'll accelerate and brake for you. So all it was steering. But it was obviously just a tech demo. And the thing that people were impressed by was the walking around the car to look at it thing.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Or so you can lean your head and stuff, and it would move the camera with you. That's kind of cool in a way.
It was, so they were showing off their amazing car model they had of the new Ferrari, which is really pretty, and you could literally walk around it using the Kinect, which was sort of cool. But then, and they were like new ways to experience cars or something. I don't know because they're all
around them.
I know. I was like, well, this
pretend
is cool,
like you're eerily staring at someone else's car that you wish you had.
Yeah, and you can flip up the bonnet and look at the engine or something, stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, it was cool. I know. So there you go. That was that.
Well, see, that you've hit precisely one of my concerns about this. Is there'll be a lot of pointless things you can do with Kinect.
Yeah.
But actually turning it into a gameplay scenario might be difficult.
I quite like the look of the dashboard for it.
The simplified dash.
Exactly. So it's just an easy, and you can just do it with your hand and stuff.
You've hit the nail on the head there, because one of the things I'm more interested in Kinect by is the fact that it is a very good interaction replacement for the controller just for normal tasks.
Yeah.
Screw gaming. If you're sitting on the couch and you want to change the volume or skip ahead a little bit, The vocal and gesture controls for a video, for instance, would be brilliant.
Although,
or like just browsing through a television listing or something, waggling your hand in the air would be great.
It'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? Although it did look pretty dumb when he used the vocal controls and he had to address it as Xbox. Did you see that?
Well, I don't really see how else you'd do it, because otherwise you'd have, occasionally get confused between you talking with your mates and stuff. They did say at one point that this whole system should be able to detect who is talking, though, thanks to like a directional mic or something like that. I don't know if that actually made it in, because I haven't seen it like past that initial sort of, we should be able to do this kind of quote. But because that would be quite interesting for like quiz games and stuff, where it would ask you a question, and then you'd have to actually answer it, providing the voice recognition tech was good enough. But it could be pretty cool.
I'll speak you of quiz games. Zach, did you hear the start of the Giant Bombcast, the last one?
No, because I haven't been able to listen to that, really. I haven't had time, because I can't get on the Mac for that long.
Well, it starts with the news that, what's it? You don't know Jack is coming back. Oh, yes. No details.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. No joke.
But properly this time.
Well, I don't know. Even if it was the web episodes, they were fine.
Yeah, the web episodes
they were funny, but I think it might come back properly. Imagine that with Kinect.
But the only problem is that if it's going to come back, it won't be much use to us unless they still manage to do like a UK version.
Yeah, because that was by far the best version, wasn't it? The UK, the one UK edition they did of the main quiz game.
Well, it was very funny.
Because if they have just like an American version with a bunch of American questions in that we just won't know, I mean, that's sort of funny in its own way, when it's like, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about, so we're just going to guess random shit.
And have you insult us in turn.
Yeah. For not knowing all these American facts about baseball or whatever it is. Or like American products on shelves, isn't it? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We have just no clue about. Yeah, it was good. But we'll see. Maybe they'll have more international versions if they're going to put it out on the... Oh, no, that doesn't count, because they did put it out on the web and it was totally American, wasn't it? So...
Yeah. Yes. It was still cool, though. I enjoy it. It's funny.
Did you see the tech demo of the Zelda game, then? Anyone?
No.
Okay.
I heard that they were doing... I saw the shots of it, though. You see, this is where this podcast is going to fail, really, because it's just going to be us theorising about things we haven't seen.
Yeah, that's what
I can tell you about it, because I did.
Yeah, I saw the shots about it. I don't like the new art style.
No, let's talk about
I instantly don't like it, because it's just... No. I didn't really get on with... I thought the Wind Waker art style was cool, but because it was...
Me too.
Because it was dramatically different, it's cool in the sense that because it was so far departed, it had its own sense of style. Sure. I didn't really think it should have existed at all in terms of Zelda, but the
Wind Waker style.
Yeah, maybe it shouldn't have been applied to Zelda and maybe to some other game. But
I don't know. I thought it worked quite well. I mean, the reason people are really disappointed is because everyone wanted this massive, epic next generation sequel to Ocarina of Time that was already like the most epic game ever created or whatever, and that was never really going to happen.
So instead of Zelda, they got
Zelda. Well, they got a good game, very different. I mean, I think looking back on it's more favourable than at the time when all the fanboys were like, "This is Zelda" or whatever. This isn't what we want.
Zelda.
Yeah, but looking back, it looks really good, and I have to say, I think Wind Waker looks better than the new style that's been seen on Skyward Sword so far. I'm not sure it's obviously not
absolutely.
finished.
I don't like the idea that they've applied the toon look and feel to adult Link.
Yeah,
that doesn't work for me. It worked well because it was the whole style of the Wind Waker was made in this sort of semi-goofy way. Everything looked a bit dopey, even the enemies and stuff. Nothing really looked particularly menacing, I guess. It all had this sort of casual cartoon feel, and it worked. But applying that visual effect to the adult Link, who doesn't look cartoony, who doesn't, in the way that he's proportioned and stuff, and doesn't look too, goofy, and he actually can look fairly menacing if he wants to. It just doesn't work. It just screams of, what the hell? You tried one thing that people hated, and then, or for general disappointment. So you went back to the normal style, but you won't quite let it go. So you'll go for somewhere in the middle that's worse.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they're saying it's sort of supposed to be like a watercolor sort of effect, but I mean, it doesn't even look as good as
do that for a new game. If you want to use a new art style, why don't you just come up with a new game that suits it rather than Zelda?
But it's not even as good as like Okami. I mean, that pulled off that look really well, and that's
absolutely,
PS2
that's
game.
A beautiful game.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, but
I guess the important question is, where is this going to fit into the history of Zelda? Is it going to be really after Wind Waker? So it's in the future of Wind Waker, so it gets that art style, but it fades out from the 2Dness towards more realism because it's getting into like a hardcore story or some shit.
Yeah, maybe
people trying to work out the Zelda chronology is just the dumbest thing ever.
It's important.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
It isn't because it's impossible.
They quite clearly had no plan at any point.
They didn't have a plan, but then they started making themselves a plan when they started creating backstory within the game, where it's like, well, now this fits in with this other thing. It's like Wind Waker, where it mentions that it's, the world has flooded, and then you go down into the sea and you come out into old Hyrule and like Hyrule Castle, and it's like, well, that's obviously this is in the future. Then that makes sense.
Yeah, some of them are like that one relative to Ocarina and stuff. I guess they started retconning it, didn't they? Because Ocarina of Time was supposed to be the first in the series, because the original Legend of Zelda, you were an adult, even though you didn't look like it because you were a little sprite, right? But you start out Ocarina as a child, so that's supposed to be the first one in the series, and then they tried to sort of fix everything else into the chronology after that. I don't know. It was weird. And then Wind Waker was even better because it was like, oh, there's a million links. There's a new link every 100 years.
That kind of idea started. They also used that sort of same idea in some of the other previous games as well, to some extent. Not as much as Wind Waker, because Wind Waker is like the main thing about Wind Waker, where right at the start it's like, now put on your green costume of the hero, and then oops, you accidentally became the hero.
Yeah,
what a coincidence.
So did you see the controls? Because it's Wii Motion Plus, right? And it's got proper 1-to-1 control of your sword. That's the idea. So you can swipe in any direction, and which look quite cool. And but
honestly, how much use is that going to be in a Zelda game?
Well, it was like
you just have to hit the enemies.
Well, no, you don't.
Certain types of new puzzle, perhaps.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So as you can imagine, like you're saying, Zach, every enemy is designed so you have to swipe it in a certain direction depending on how they're holding their shield or whatever, to defeat it. So, for example, the Deku plants have they open their mouths sort of horizontally or vertically depending on which way you have to slice them and stuff like that. And it was quite interesting because it's kind of the first time you've had that kind of 1-to-1 control of something coupled with full 3D movement. Like in other games where you've had 1-to-1 control of the sword or the thing, like Wii Sports Resort or whatever, using the Wii Motion Plus, it's always you are not navigating a 3D environment at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose, the exception to that rule is Red Steel 2.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But in Zelda, you won't actually be navigating a 3D environment at the same time, because you'll stop, Z-lock, and then wait for them to do their thing, and then you slash them in the direction.
That's true, but you don't have to
You'll just hold your shield up and wait, won't you? And then it's like, now's my chance for stab.
It's not really navigating the environment at the same time as such.
I guess, but you don't have to be in the Z-lock, which it does feature, of course, to do the swiping. In any direction.
So if you are kind of awesome, you can still just leg it past them, doing the precise swing at the right moment.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be so cool. But and it had all different. You can throw bombs by throwing, and roll bombs like a bowling ball by rolling them and stuff like that. And it had the bow. You had to draw like a bow by holding the nunchuck forward and the Wiimote back behind your ear and stuff like that. So that stuff looks sort of cool.
Yeah, from what you're saying, the actual gameplay elements sound good, but I'm a little bit worried, as I say, with because I liked Twilight Princess. I'm not a massive Zelda fan, I'll be honest, but Twilight Princess actually got me quite hooked, and I finished it, which is
that's
for
pretty
me,
good.
It's saying something.
Yeah, that is.
So I actually finished it and liked it, and I liked the art style, and I liked the way it was told, and it was generally pretty damn good. I'm scared that this is a step back in terms of narrative and style,
right?
And that will not drive me to finish the game, regardless of all the gameplay improvements.
Yeah.
Because that sounds a little shallow, doesn't it, as a gamer? That I'm a little bit more interested in the narrative and story and stuff like that. But in a way, it's
not necessarily.
But in a way,
I don't think that sounds shallow. I think that's a legitimate concern. Absolutely.
Well, it's weird because gamers, it should be all about the gameplay, I guess. But for me, it's like it's that hook factor I mention every now and then. The gameplay can be good, but as long as if there's nothing pulling me back. For instance, there can be some games like Burnout and stuff where the hook is just the insanity of it all. It doesn't need a narrative or the hilarity of everything happening crazily. Whereas sort of story-driven games, the hook is the story. Like, I forgive Mass Effect 2 its shortcomings of combat and things like that because the story is so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
And just so solid.
So
I'm a little worried. They showed some of the enemies as well, and they look a bit Wind Waker-y as well, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not convinced by the art style, and also there've been so many Zelda games that I'm starting to get to the point where I just think they shouldn't make any more Zelda for a while. But
I can't help but think Ninty just need new ideas.
Yeah,
there was a period when GameCube came out where they came up with some, a couple of original titles. Pikmin is the one that just jumps up into my head pretty quickly, and it's like, there we go, an original idea that worked brilliantly. It's like, what's stopping you, Ninty, now from coming up with some more ideas?
Yeah, they need
Chibi
to do
Robo was one of Ninty's own, wasn't it? Something like that.
Oh, don't know.
They didn't really do well over here. But,
oh no.
But there was a period of time where they had some really innovative ideas, and that this just seems to have stopped. Like WarioWare was about that time, wasn't it? That they sort of came up with that concept.
That's true. The thing about Zelda as well is that it's almost like if they did, they won't do this, of course, but if they did a full-blown, like, massively epic, photorealistic graphics on a high-spec machine Zelda, it would just be weird because it would have to be fully voice-acted, and that doesn't work with Zelda. And, like, all the themes are sort of, I don't know, there's just something about the franchise that doesn't sort of fit with the next generation in my mind, like the storytelling and it's just maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just the fact that everything comes up in text boxes, which looks quite strange now, or I don't know. It just seems like Ocarina just hit it perfectly, and that there's never going to be that time again for Zelda for me. I don't know. The best way of getting to that is probably by doing something clever and new with the controls. Just like they always come up with something new, don't they? Some new mechanic, but it's always Zelda. So I don't know.
I know what you mean. It's sort of. I'm lost for the words here. It's hard to envisage like a Hollywoodization of Zelda.
Yeah, it wouldn't work, would it? It just wouldn't be Zelda anymore, And that's what games are moving towards, more sort of Hollywood. Well, no, not Hollywood, but you know what I mean. In that way, they're like really big blockbuster, and that won't work with Zelda. I don't know. It almost seems like Mario is better suited to like super amazing graphics than Zelda is.
I don't think so.
Well, as long as they don't make Mario actually look like a plumber from Brooklyn, then it'll be alright. But
well, no, because that with Mario, you can go full Pixar on it, can't you? They don't have to look real, but they can look amazing. Whereas, Zelda has to look sort of real. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway. So, yeah.
But anyway, you've got even if we don't like that, you've got Ocarina of Time on the 3DS to look forward to.
Yeah.
So you can buy it again. Freaking woo.
So, shall we move on to the 3DS? So, yes. Have you seen it then? Have you seen the hardware? I guess you have.
Yes. I'm a little disappointed. They have said that the current design is still prototype.
Yeah.
It's not the final design, which I hope it's not, because it is verging on ugly.
I thought it looked a bit thick. Like,
I didn't see that problem. It looked a bit thicker than the Lite, but not much. It's a bit wider because it's having to make use of the bigger screen for the 3D stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know. It looked a bit sort of haphazard, the way all the buttons went together and all the switches and stuff. It's not a neat looking device, which the DSi is. It's a nice, smooth looking contraption.
I guess they have a history of going through a couple of hardware iterations to get to.
Yeah,
sort of
I suppose when you look back, the original DS wasn't exactly a looker.
No, and then it came to the DS Lite, which is perfect. All the problems, basically. And even
it's not perfect.
Well, what's not perfect about the Lite?
I hate those buttons. The stupid mushy DS Lite and DSi buttons. The original DS click buttons were so much more awesome and feedbacky. God damn. That's why I'm so happy that my original DS has lasted all this goddamn time, despite how much I used it.
But the old buttons were a bit smaller and a bit harsher on the thumb.
They weren't smaller. They were probably bigger, if not the same.
I don't know.
But they were flat.
Yeah, they were flat. Yeah.
But I don't like them sticking all the way they stick, and they're quite loose as well. They don't actually feel very well made.
Yeah, they do seem to have a lot of range. Is the other thing you can seem to be able to push them quite a long way down.
Yeah, that squishiness I don't really like that. I always found that annoying.
I didn't really find that affected anything at all. It might have felt a bit different, but it didn't really have a problem.
But what do you think, Zach, of the 3DS from the looks of it?
I don't know, because I haven't seen it. So there you go. I'm going to continue to be incredibly useful for this E3 discussion.
Okay. Well, personally...
I like the idea that they've put an analog stick on it.
Yeah, I instantly...
The D-pad is lowered and the analog stick is up.
I think it looks brilliant. I really like it. Yeah, I was just thinking, the analog. It was a bit of a surprise when I first saw it, and the analog slider, as they're calling it. I mean, people have had hands-on with it, and they're saying it's great. It's so much better than the PSP nub thing, and it's in the right place.
That's the problem.
And it's Nintendo doing it.
Well, the problem is that the PSP nub was always not because it was a bad idea. It's just because it's in a rubbish location.
Yeah. And I think this slider thing looks brilliant, and it's in just the right place. And I think the 3D effect is really. I think this is the best platform for 3D in inverted commas. What do we say? Because you work in the industry. What do you say to different? I don't suppose it matters because you don't do computer games. But what do you say to differentiate 3D graphics, which we've had for years, from 3D display? Do you just
How do you mean? Sorry,
I mean 3D graphics as in a 3D computer game as opposed to an old side scroller, right? And then 3D. So if I say a game is in 3D, I suppose I might be talking about Mario 64, but I might be talking about. Yeah,
but you no longer need to say a game is in 3D because virtually no games are not in 3D any longer.
Well, I guess. Okay.
It's more likely you'd say this game is in 2D because that's actually sort of rare.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose if you wanted to be specific, you could refer to it as S3D because that is technically the technique used. It's stereopsis.
Okay.
So S3D. Stereo, three-dimensional. Because that's the trick they're using. It's not true three-dimensional because it's not real or holography. It's stereo 3D.
That sounds like quite a useful term, actually, S3D.
S3D. We've been using it at work to try and differentiate a little bit, but well, not to differentiate, just to be precise.
Right.
That's the word. You've got to be careful with the terms you use. So it's
exactly. But I think this 3DS, Nintendo 3DS, I think it's the perfect platform for S3D. I'm not convinced by 3D televisions. I think 3D movies are still a bit of a gimmick to make money and avoid piracy. But I think this is going to be great because I think the marriage of old 3D visuals, like I was just talking about, and this effect is a real enhancer, I think. Because you can.
I'm the other way around. I see it very little being of particular use on a handheld. I think that's a completely pointless addition to it. Don't get me wrong, it's cool. It's sort of in the moment, but that's exactly the problem. It feels like Nintendo just bandwagoning. Whereas home TV cinema in 3D, I actually think will happen. I think that'll happen, and it'll be here to stay this time because the tech is good enough this time.
You think with because with a 3D TV, and with the movies as well, the whole idea of the 3D-ness of it, well, not the whole idea. One of the ideas of the 3D-ness of it was to sort of add immersion or whatever, because it's like, oh, it's 3D. Whereas if it's on a tiny little screen, no matter how much 3D they put into it, it's still an incredibly tiny little screen that you're only seeing, it's only that occupying that small square in your vision rather than like a movie screen or whatever.
I guess that's true, but it's the fact that it's a single person and that there's none of that angle of vision problem, because you can orient the screen exactly to get the right 3D effect because it's right in front of you.
They're still going to have to be careful, though, because I suppose they have better possibility of engineering it, but you've got to, and this goes for any stereo 3D, you've got to use it right. If you use it wrong, such as have elements of the HUD that are at the wrong depth, for instance, or if they do something that forces your eyes to move about the screen and refocus too much, it will become painful. And, and that is a big problem with games. While I see 3D gaming as being a serious thing that's going to happen and probably be the industry driver, to be honest, when it gets good enough, the elements of HUD are probably the hardest thing they have to face, because the thing that's painful to the eye is reconvergence, the time it takes to focus around the screen. And if you're doing that, glancing at like ammo counts and things like that too often, it can get quite painful, which is weird because you don't get that problem in real life when you're driving, for instance, when you look at the dashboard and then look back and it doesn't happen. It only seems to apply to this S3D stuff. But they've got to be careful, because I can see car sickness becoming an epic problem for kids in the back using 3DSs, because not only will they have a problem with traditional motion sickness, they'll be fucking their brain up by attempting to converge on 3D images.
Well, it's because the 3D images and movements in the game won't correlate with the actual physical movements.
No,
so it'll be double confusion.
And they've also,
I guess that could be bad for car sickness there.
Well, the other interesting thing is probably the largest demographic of DS users are kids.
Arguably,
because there's the large, arguably, but there's the large game base there, and there's money to be made in that area. And 3D S3D just isn't suitable for kids. They released a safety announcement already, like halfway through this week or something, saying it's not designed for kids.
Because they
or S3D isn't really appropriate for young children, and it's like,
that's interesting.
Well, there you go. That's kind of against your target demographic, isn't it?
I guess with the HUD thing, with the DS, you've got that advantage that you can stick that stuff on the other screen, I guess.
Yeah, but you're still having to refocus.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that could be a problem. But I do like the idea that every single, it's freaking genius, I think. When I first saw it, it seemed so obvious. Just like having the analog nub seemed, obvious. I didn't expect it when I saw it. But the fact that you have a slider on the side of the screen, and at any point in any game, you can adjust the 3D effect to nothing if you want, or anywhere in between.
That's brilliant, because in
that's
a way
a great idea.
That was required. So for people that can't, not everyone can do S3D. There's an interesting statistic that 10% of people just cannot see S3D material. So in order for everyone to be able to use the device, they need to have this 2D option.
But the fact that you don't have to go into a menu or anything like that at any point can just use it. It's brilliant.
Well, that comes down to the same technique that NVIDIA use for their 3D stuff. At the end of the day, if you're creating a 3D world yourself, you have total control on how that's how the depth effect is rendered. So if there's a slider attached directly to how the hardware is doing that effect, then fair play, problem solved.
It's a great idea, I think. And the fact that you can, apparently I've heard reports that like all the way up fully 3D effect obviously is the most full whack 3D crazy things moving into your face. But apparently if you move it all the way down to 0 and then just edge it up a tiny bit, you get a nice little pop, from the screen that isn't very overwhelming. And apparently that's quite a nice...
I've got to be honest with you, that's the bit I'm more scared about, is if they overuse the into your face effect, because that's the one most people don't get on with. It's a nice gimmick, but it's also the one that can break the immersion more than anything else.
I don't see how that would how you wouldn't be able to go as far as being in your face coming from that small screen, unless it was very central.
No, it's actually possible. You could do that.
I think unless the item was,
you're right. Unless the item was central, there probably wouldn't be enough disparity to get it quite right. But the screens are angled, so they could be a trick they're using to get that to work. But the scary thing is that you don't want, if they do a sticky out effect, they're going to have to be careful that they don't cut the frame.
Right,
that's the worst thing you can do is if you have something sticking out that suddenly goes outside the screen boundary.
Yeah.
Because your brain goes, oh, what's that? Oh, that's not right. Oh.
No, they can't do that. But the thing is, I think that popping out thing is more of a problem for movies and stuff that are doing it as a gimmick, going, oh, towards the audience or whatever, so in cutscenes and stuff. But in actual gameplay, in a old 3D environment, you don't often have things flying towards your face, and that's going to be translated in games.
Well,
I mean, you might get bullets. I guess, but they're not going to be like
rockets.
They're not going to be like huge things.
Only if they're Quake 3 rockets.
Lasers.
Yeah. If a bullet comes out...
Yeah, but a laser shouldn't even have a 3D model, really.
If that goes out of your vision, you're not going to worry, are you?
Well, no, in theory, no, but like blasters from Star Wars and things.
But hopefully you're not focusing on the bullets and you're focusing on your
true.
If they go out of frame, it's not so bad, I don't think.
Well, that's the other thing. That there might be a difficulty in complexity as well, because obviously with the ability with you focusing on certain objects in fake 3D space, a lot of other objects become hard to see.
Right.
So the complexity of the space has to be reduced in a way, especially on the resolutions they're dealing with the 3DS. They won't be able to do complex environments because with lots of stuff happening. Let's put it that way, because you just won't be able to deal with it.
Do you think there's a possibility that some games might get to a very difficult boss, and the only way that you be able to beat it was to temporarily turn off the 3D effect just to make it easier on yourself?
Possibly, yeah. I can see that. Well, maybe that would just be how the hardcore do it. It's like, the 3D makes it harder. I'll turn that off.
Maybe. So, obviously, there's this massive list of games that immediately, announced for the 3DS, because they've had this in the bag for a while. So, out comes a bunch of, remakes and stuff. Star Fox 64 Lilac Wars, straight up in 3D, on the 3DS.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest. It's nice that they're bringing it back, but I want to see new Star Fox. I don't want to see remakes.
Yeah. Everyone wants to see new Star Fox. I've noticed
because I can play Star Fox 64 or Lilac Wars on my Wii, and it will be fine.
Oh, that's true, isn't it? Because you've got the Wii
virtual console version. Stuff.
Virtual console, yeah.
There's no need for a remake in my eyes. It's like they're gonna. I just want a new Star Fox game. Lilac Wars is one of my favourite games of all time, and along with F-Zero GX, it's like make another one, damn it.
That's true. Apparently they're doing Splinter Cell Chaos,
lazy,
which is like my favourite Splinter Cell game, and apparently they're doing that on the 3DS, which is crazy.
How's that going to work?
I don't know, but apparently, obviously in 3D and everything. But I was thinking that this 3DS for me, it's the first time in a while that I've been instantly I haven't played it obviously, but I've been instantly sort of converted to sort of because I thought, when the DS was first announced, I thought it sounded really dumb. 2 screens. I thought that was, just ridiculous. It didn't make any sense.
Well, I don't
know.
When I was the initial reaction, yes, but then you thought about the touchscreen element, and you're just like, well, actually, that does make sense, because your hand would be smearing over the first screen. You might need some feedback on the other one.
Exactly. It started to make sense.
That made sense. The bit that doesn't make sense to me, actually, on this front, the bit that doesn't make sense to me in the new design is why isn't the screen bigger? They could have filled that top panel and had micro speakers like the PSP does or something like that. Yeah. They could have filled that top panel, and that should be capacitive touchscreen like the iPhone.
Yeah, well, the bottom screen is now capacitive, isn't it? Or apparently you can use your fingers a lot better than you can with this. It's still got the stylus, but apparently the fingers work a lot better than they used to.
Unless it's a special stylus, it can't be a capacitive screen, because you can't use Stilly on iPhone screens and all that.
That's true.
Yeah, but they should have. They really should have made that. For the brain training style game, they should have made that giant touchscreen, so you have that level of interaction, and
that must be difficult to combine
directly with iPhone.
That must be difficult to combine that with a 3D effect.
Maybe that's the problem, but I get the feeling that they're missing a trick.
Well, you still got the touch on the bottom screen, I guess. Like, for me, it made... Yeah, but it's the first time it made sense to me to actually have 2 screens, because you've got the big wide screen with the 3D effect and the touch screen, and you wouldn't want 3D on the touch screen because you're trying to touch things on a 2D plane.
It's true, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's the first time it's like crystallized in my mind. Like, finally, because when the DS came out, it was like, oh, this is a sort of experiment, and the Game Boy 3 is on its way, don't worry. And then it was a huge success, and the Game Boy 3 sort of
didn't have
quietly. But I think this is it, because this is a hardcore gaming device. If you think about it, it's got a big wide screen and it's got an analog controller, you know? This is the new Game Boy. All these years later, you know? Combined with the DS. In a sort of
I've got to be honest,
thing.
I'm not while I'm not convinced by the 3D, and I'm a little bit disappointed in the actual tech being used, other than the 3D, it's the actual button layout at least says maybe we'll get some normal games on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, first-person shooters might work.
Well, you know, if they could make another Sonic Rush.
Well, yeah, but that's the trouble, isn't it? Because, like, the only games that I'd care about would be Advance Wars and Sonic Rush, neither of which would be any use for 3D. I mean, Sonic Rush, maybe you could have 3D backgrounds and, like, instead of parallax, it would be actual 3D.
That would be cool.
But then Advance Wars, totally no reason for that to be in 3D. It was like, even when they made it Mode 7 on, like, the landscape and everything, I thought that was stupid.
But you could run Sonic Adventure 2 on that damn thing in 3D. I mean, wouldn't you want that?
Sold.
You know what I mean? With
you don't need to play Sonic Adventure 2 again.
No, I don't. But,
I know, but you don't need to play Sonic Rush again or Advance Wars either, necessarily.
I'll tell you what, I've been thinking, like, some of the things that came out. Like, we knew last week that they were planning on bringing Dreamcast titles to XBLA.
Yeah.
And like true. The Dreamcast marketplace, essentially, with a series of games like that. I was playing Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing a bit more, and I couldn't help but think, holy crap, does this mean they could bring back Choo Choo Rocket? I freaking love that game.
That would be good.
It was genius. It was the only problem Choo Choo Rocket had is that it was miles ahead of its time in the fact that it was trying to make use of the Dreamcast's 27 kbps modem and, for an online orientated game, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to work, and it didn't. But in the modern day world, that was brilliant. You could bring that back, bring back the puzzle mode of the like 300 odd puzzles that the GBA version had, and I
always thought
I want to see that again.
Wouldn't it make sense to? Because what did you do? You selected a tile and then you pressed a direction to set the. Is that right?
Yeah, that was. You moved the cursor where you were, and the face buttons referred to a direction.
Yeah, that's right.
And then so you put down a tile that pointed in a certain way, and then anything that touched it would then move that direction.
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have that with a touchscreen where you press down and then you drag in the direction
and then
you want?
Swipe.
Yeah, swipe. So you swipe.
If implemented correctly, yeah. Look.
I mean, that could work on iPhone. That could work on DS. You know, that might be quite good.
Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Here's a question for someone who's been paying attention more to E3, because I've just remembered. Did they actually show anything or say anything about any more about Golden Sun 3?
They did. It was mentioned.
It was mentioned.
Yeah.
Like they said, yes, we're still making this.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, there was a trailer and there's some stuff. I haven't looked at it, but
well, there was like a really short mini trailer like last E3. Was it last E3 or was it another conference? I can't remember. But there was definitely a miniature trailer.
It was definitely at E3, I think, Golden Sun 3 or whatever. So good for that. Good for you then, Zach.
Yes. Hopefully.
Dark Dawn.
That is a terrible name. Golden Sun, Dark Dawn. What were the other subtitles?
The sun's not that golden anymore.
No.
Well, I guess if it follows on from the end of Golden Sun 2, that would sort of maybe make sense. Even though they've pretty much said at this point that although it does theoretically follow on from the end of Golden Sun 2, it's not really from the end. It's like the next generation. It's like this is the children of the people who, your squad from the end of Golden Sun 2. This is their children. So obviously the world wasn't that much in danger.
What was the subtitle of Golden Sun 2 then?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I think
Sons
it was something
of the
stupid.
Sun.
Sons of the Sun. That would actually be kind of funny.
Yeah, that would be quite good.
Sons.
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh dear. You can't even look it up because he hasn't got his PC.
I can.
Yes, Rob could.
Internet guru, away.
So Zach, have your PC components arrived yet?
No, it's not going to be components. It's a full PC.
The Lost Age.
Oh, well, that's incredibly unimaginative then.
It was an age.
Lost Age.
That was
Are you sure that's Golden Sun 2 though, and not just the first one?
No, but
there's Golden Sun 1. There's a picture of it.
Yeah,
oh yeah, that is the second one. Yeah,
yeah.
Lost Age is the second one. I don't know if the first one had a subtitle, but it might have done. Why are you scrolling through the wiki page?
I don't know.
That one there. No further left.
What the fuck is...
Okay,
that's
enough of this. On
this
the
one.
podcast, trying to work out what the name of this game is. On the basis of it being
we have ended up somewhere soon.
No, it's just Golden Sun.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Oh, Golden Sun.
Which makes sense. Thank God they didn't put a subtitle in the first game of the series. Unlike fucking Split Second.
But when they were making this one, they knew that there was going to be a second one.
Yeah, but
what's the Split Second?
I don't like them making subtitles for games that are the first of their kind. Just on the off chance that they, it just reeks of overconfidence.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have done that because
It
there was going to be a sequel.
Well, not if it failed.
What's the Split Second one?
But it was only half the story.
It might still have failed. It might not have sold, and they've not got funding. Split Second is labelled Velocity for no reason at all.
What? Split Second Velocity? I thought it was some dumb thing based on the TV series premise. Like, I don't know.
Oh no, that might be the tagline. Like,
it's Split Second, the show.
Split Second on TV.
That would be really bad. On TV. Because you call your TV show something on TV.
Rob on TV.
Robot Wars on TV.
Football on TV.
Did you guys see the Criterion's first Need for Speed title?
No.
At E3. Guess what it's called?
I forgot they were working on that.
Need for Speed Burnout, isn't it?
No, it's worse than that. It's
Need
literally
for Speed Revenge.
Burnout. The Need for Speed.
It's literally called, and apparently there's no game being called this before. It's literally called Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. There you go.
What?
Need for Speed
That's
Hot
been
Pursuit.
Done.
No, it hasn't. That was Need for Speed 3
Hot Pursuit.
Hot Pursuit. Yeah. So
right.
This is now.
So this new pursuit is it any hotter?
I don't know.
Is there like bikini-clad women hanging out of your cop car?
I don't know. It looked fairly warm. I don't know. It looked like Burnout, except sort of, a combination of the old Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Like, I don't know. I wasn't sure about it. I mean, it looked good enough and stuff, but it was the usual like two-player split screen they were playing, and they're like, chase. One of them is chasing and the other one is running away or whatever. And it didn't seem very obvious how the guy running away could actually win. I presume you have to like get far enough away and then a timer will count down or something.
Unless it was like Chase HQ, where you just have to dodge being rammed at the bum.
It was effectively Chase HQ. I mean, at one point he just turned around and started going backwards because that was the best way to like lose him. And I don't know. It just evolved. He just got stuck in a corner and like, I don't know. It did not look that good, I have to say. Yeah, but they've got a good pedigree, so maybe they'll pull something out of it. But I wasn't so sure.
Unless they've been EA'd within an inch of their life.
I don't know. They've been with EA for a long time though, and EA are nowhere near as bad as they used to be. Activision.
Well, it's more like if the Need for Speed has survived. Because it's like Need for Speed was the shittier brand out of Need for Speed Burnout, and then EA were like, let's just mash these together.
Oh yeah, Need for Speed has branched out though, hasn't it? There's several variants of it. Like there was the Need for Speed Shift, which was their attempt at making realistic racing, which I didn't like. There was they went for the extreme arcade route on the Wii with like Need for Speed Graffiti or something, whatever it's called, where you tagged the town in your colours or something if you were in the lead. It's a completely pointless gimmick, but hell. And apparently that wasn't that bad. Apparently it's just nothing special. And now this. It's like I don't really have the need for that much speed.
It's like they don't have any control over what's going on with that franchise anymore. It really needs to settle down. I guess this is the way to do it. This does look like a Need for Speed game in the vein of the old ones in a way, but with a bit of Burnout magic added, which I guess is the best you could hope for, really.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, just make another Burnout. That would have been easier.
Yeah,
that would have been easy.
It didn't need mashing into Need for Speed.
I guess Need for Speed had that sort of underground thing where you like pimped out your cars and it all looked really neon and weird, like you were some kind of Gary boy in LA.
And lots of gangster rap.
Yeah, all that rubbish, but I don't know. The actual gameplay wasn't very good.
Get low.
Yeah. Didn't you have the demo of that or something and you had a pimped out ride or whatever on the PC years ago? Need for Speed Underground?
I actually had the game, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
In some form. I think I borrowed it off a mate.
Right.
It was alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it had interesting things. The actual shift, the gear shift drag racing challenges were quite interesting in a strange way.
Yeah.
In the fact that you only had to drive forwards and change lane and get your shifting right. It was like a little mini game, but weirdly it was one of the better bits of the game. But...
What was that game where wasn't it Flat Out or something where like the mini games were the fun bit because you had to like crash your car and chuck your guy over a stadium.
Yeah, bloke chucking with the windscreen long jump.
That's right. That was really hard. The actual races were quite difficult, weren't they?
Yeah, no, it was pretty tough because you took damage as you went around and gradually would screw up and eventually die.
Well, it was because of the system that they had where in order to like get boost or whatever, you had to damage the scenery, but damaging the scenery fucked your car up really badly. So you couldn't really actually do it in order to get boost.
Yeah, it was a bit counterproductive. Hitting bits of the scenery would slow you down enough to make the boost not worthwhile.
Yeah, and damage your car to make you slower overall as well, I think. Did it? I can't remember if it affected performance. Although
it was great fun when we got when I was in Southampton once for a LAN party, and this centre happened to have Flat Out too, so we all loaded it up for a laugh to see what it was like. Turned on hella damage mode, meaning the cars were really vulnerable, and see who could just make it to the end of a race. That was actually really good fun.
That sounds like fun, actually, yeah. Little meta games. That's always fun creating your own games. Like we had we'll be able to recreate it, I guess, with the Perfect Dark reissue on Xbox Live Arcade, but the old Fist Sim thing.
Providing they still keep that. They better not.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, all of the customization is still there.
So what was the game mode? We had, everyone was Fist Sims, right? So they didn't have guns, or they didn't pick up guns. They just attacked with melee, right? Yeah. And it was instant kill, license to kill. What was it called in Perfect? It's probably something.
I think it's just called one-shot kills.
One-shot kills, yeah. And then we had one of them on a harder difficulty, didn't we? That was the real Fist Sim.
Yeah, there'd be one set on super difficult, wearing a white dinner suit.
That's right. The real Fist
Sim. We made him, who always seemed to be slightly taller than everyone as well, so you could see him coming.
And everyone was just armed with all variations of the pistol, like silenced.
Yeah. So you had to one-shot kill all the dudes coming at you before they managed to get at you. Because the worst thing was as well, because they had some weird programming where they'd always try and disarm you first, even though it was like one-shot kill. So you'd get a warning hit if you were wielding a pistol, because they'd try and disarm you. So you'd drop your gun, and the screen would all go blurry, and you'd be like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Next hit would kill you.
Oh, that was fun.
Although you could always fight back with fists if you were feeling fruity.
You'd have to be very lucky because they were quite quiet, weren't they? You couldn't hear them coming up at you, especially.
No one had any walking noises.
No, so it was like they could easily come up behind you, and you had no field of vision because it was like 4-player split screen on an old 4x3 TV, wasn't it? Basically, so yeah, that was great. Good times.
That might be worth redoing at some point. And what we called Fart Sight as well. Just because, we were childish and thought that was a funny name for a game, based on the Far Sight weapon. Where it's just like, it was basically a team of Fist Sims again, wasn't it? But we had Far Sights. Which is even worse because then you're zoomed in looking in X-ray through all the things at people from afar. And then occasionally you'd be staring through the scope for ages, and then you'd get punched. And it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, because you'd have that warning punch, and you couldn't see anything very well after that point, but you could react, and it was like, ah! That's awesome.
And Task Force games, where it was just us versus... I think it was pretty much normal settings, but we just set all the bots to be on the same enemy team against us, so you'd get chased by this giant mound of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was still Fist Sims, because the Fist Sims formed task forces sometimes.
Yeah. There was a specific game for it, but I can't remember how we used to the specifics of it. It was weapon based though.
So back to E3 for a bit, shall we? Have you seen anything about Halo Reach? You see the single player gameplay?
No, I haven't watched that yet.
Oh man, it looked good. I have to say, it looked like Halo, which it looked specifically, as you can imagine, it looked like, because it's a prequel, it was more harking back to the original game, but with really good graphics, like much better than Halo 3. I'm really excited by it, actually. I wasn't sure about the direction Halo's been going, with 2 and 3 kind of changed a lot from the first for me, but I don't know, it did look good. They had the old style drop ships, the 2 prongs rather than the Phantom thing. What are they called? The newer ones?
Yeah, Phantoms, you're right.
Phantoms, yeah. I never really liked those. So, yeah, and had the epic scale and stuff, and you were fighting with a team of Spartans, and they were doing the the armor moves from the multiplayer. What's it called? Where you can lock your armor.
I mean, just the armor abilities. Yeah.
Armor abilities in the single. They were doing that and blowing up. So a ghost was coming to warn them, and were flipping over it. And then at the end, the surprise. Do you know it? Do you know the surprise?
No, surprise me.
The surprise is, at the end of the level, he gets into a spaceship, he blasts off into space in a fighter, and there's space combat.
Whoa, okay.
Yep, in a Halo
Crazy.
game, space combat. It looked sort of like Rogue Squadron, except really pretty, I guess. Yeah. Or Rogue
Squadron 2. Make any sense.
What, in Halo? You're in
the Halo universe. When has there ever been fighter combat? It's always capital ships. They just sit somewhere miles away and shoot each other.
No, there were fighters in the what are they called? The long swords or whatever. You see them.
Yeah, they're in the ship, but when do they ever get used?
Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? Because Reach is being attacked by the Covenant, so we're going to see, aren't we? So,
but that kind of infers that the Covenant have some kind of weird fighter craft as well.
Probably I think Banshees. They do. I don't know if they were Banshees.
Banshees would be way too slow in space.
And your feet are hanging out the back, so yeah.
Yeah, not very atmospheric.
Capable. Yeah, I think they had new space fighters, and you could fight them, in your longsword or whatever it was, and it did look really cool. And it was quite a smooth transition because he just got in a spaceship and it blasted off into space, and then he was up there, shooting dudes in the face. That's going to seem pretty
weird. That's going to seem pretty weird if they don't. It's it's just that just seems like some kind of weird instant cut in the storyline where it's and now go into space.
That's true. I don't know.
Normally, in between the missions and stuff in Halo, you get a pelican or whatever, and it takes you to the new area that you have to fight in. But in this one, it's well, I could just fly over there to this new place where the next on-foot bit is, but I think I'll go into space for a while.
Well, it had a whole sequence for lifting off and stuff, with first stage separation and all that. It looked pretty cool, but that was just a sequence,
So it actually has it actually requires rockets and shit.
Yeah, required rockets to get
that makes even less sense.
I know, that's true. But at least, I don't know, it looked cool. It doesn't really make sense because the Pelicans could fly from
into space.
Couldn't they? Because we know that from the last game. Or maybe they were just drop ships. Maybe they could only go down and could never get back up unless the capital ship came and landed like it did in Halo 3. That's really
but then dumb. Didn't Master Chief escape on a Pelican?
No, he got.
No, he used the longboat. He used the fighter, didn't he? Yeah, but then he didn't need
because he went back to the Heron Dawn thing, and then he did. But then again, that was off a Halo, so maybe it's lower gravity or whatever.
Yeah, you don't need the escape velocity, do you? Because all you'd need to do is fall off the edge of it, and you'd automatically have.
Not that makes any sense.
A lot of velocity. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, that looked pretty cool. So I'm quite excited for Halo Reach single player.
Well, I'm hoping they because we always play it in co-op, though. This is the big thing for us. I hope they sort of make because they've never really made much of an effort to sort of aim towards it. But I suppose maybe because it didn't make sense before because you're always the single protagonist. But now perhaps there's more of an emphasis on perhaps adding co-op elements, and that would be nice to see.
Yeah, it would certainly make more sense, wouldn't it, now that you're in a team of Spartans to, because I guess with Halo 3 you had the kind of the Arbiter and then the other elite guys, but I don't know. It was good that they tried to integrate the co-op into the story, but it was never completely successful. I didn't think. Like, I don't know. Especially if you play it with 4 players or whatever, then you're going through to finish the fight and save humanity, and you're 3/4 of you are aliens who are your enemies at the start. Yeah. It's a bit dumb, but I don't know. I guess you couldn't have any humans.
At that point,
obviously at that point they're friendly. Yeah. Enemies.
Well, I know they're friendly, but I'm just saying it's pretty dumb. I don't know. But I think it's looking good, and I like that it's harking back a bit to the first game. I think that was my favourite of the Halo games for single player.
Yeah, you're probably right. I still think it'll be good because I've enjoyed all of them, but it's so I am looking forward to it still. And as I say, that as we mentioned before, the multiplayer is shaping up to be pretty sweet. The interesting thing is that they've added firefights going to be back, but they've made it so it's customizable and stuff now.
Yeah, that's right. So
you can have your own style firefight, which could be interesting.
I mean,
might make some of the score targets easier.
Well, they need to make the score targets lower. Yeah. They need to make it so it doesn't take like 2.5 hours to actually reach the achievement score, because that's pretty ridiculous.
They probably won't do achievements for it, although it'll be based on the main multiplayer, I guess. But the other
this
thing
is
they
looking
was
like a full-blown, though, isn't it? Full-blown Halo game. Like I wasn't sure what to expect when they announced it. People didn't even know it was going to be an FPS. But we're looking at, from what I can tell from looking at the single player and this whole multiplayer, it looks like it might as well be Halo 4 just without Master Chief. I mean, it looks the graphics look great. I mean,
well, we don't know. Maybe it will have Master Chief in it.
Yeah,
maybe he escaped from Reach. We don't really know. Or I can't remember if we know.
Therefore, he does, obviously. Well, he's in cryo storage on the ship, isn't he?
Yeah. So we don't know where he came from before that.
Yeah, we don't know if he was active on Reach before. It'd be a bit odd to put him in cryo sleep just for a 10-minute trip to because they were just jumping, weren't they? Into, if you know the story, they were just jumping to escape Reach, weren't they? The fall of Reach into blindly, and they didn't even know they were going to Halo or anywhere. They were just jumping blindly to get away from the enemy, who then promptly followed them. Yeah, but so the fact that everyone on the ship is awake and Master Chief is the only one in cryo sleep would kind of suggest he was in kind of long-term storage just in case it was needed. Yeah,
maybe they didn't think Reach was worth saving, so they just kept him in cryo sleep.
I think it's more likely that probably he's going to be in cryo sleep in a facility somewhere in Reach, and then part of Reach's storyline will be you have to launch him onto the Pillar of Awesome or something.
Yeah, probably something like that. It'll just be a bit of cargo that you have to move onto. I don't know.
Yeah. You have to save him.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the storyline. A bit like all the Half-Life add-ons after the first one, where everyone's trying to help. Everyone always ends up seeing Gordon Freeman from some angle. Like in Blue Shift and Opposing Force, you always see him at the last second jumping into a portal or something. Or you see him go by, don't you, at the start of Blue Shift on the train as you're because you're the guard trying to get in the door who's knocking on the door next to the side of the tracks. So that's Halo Reach. Call of Duty, Black Ops.
Call of Duty.
This is the Treyarch.
I gotta say, it didn't look too bad, but it's obvious just another one of Treyarch's casual rip-off Modern Warfare engines. The HUD and everything was just taken straight out of Modern Warfare 2. And the one thing I was impressed by is they have made sort of outdoor foliage look quite nice.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it looked really pretty, the foliage and stuff, because they've obviously got some Vietnam missions in there and stuff. And to evoke that, you really need good, nice foliage and jungle look. And it looked pretty good from that. I mean, obviously they are using the tech, but from Infinity War, but that just gives them the opportunity to make a good game. Which
it looks like they've been let off the leash a little bit by the sounds of it. That they before it was obvious that they've been almost forced into doing more World War II because it's that's a safe bet.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's sort of okay, do what you want. And although again, it seems for a Call of Duty game, perhaps it shouldn't have been anything to do with Call of Duty because it's more like it should be in the Modern Warfare franchise.
Yeah,
because they're moving away from World War II again, and it's like, well, give it a new name.
It almost should be Modern Warfare Black Ops, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Does that? I don't know. It's really weird, the naming now of Modern Warfare.
Well, it's not really modern because it's set in the past still, but maybe it's Middle Warfare. Yeah. I don't know.
Middle Warfare.
Aging Warfare.
But have you seen the vehicles, the helicopter sequence?
Yeah. Although you are only the gunner in that. You're not flying.
Okay. Oh, is that so? Oh, that's not quite so impressive then. Because that would be cool if you could fly the helicopter around. But obviously then you could go anywhere. It wouldn't really work.
Yeah. But, no, it's obvious. Well, you're sitting in the gunner seat, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, because you're sitting...
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because the top
Who
one
flies it? Is it the guy at the front or the guy at the back?
The guy at the front is the gunner.
Oh, yeah, so maybe you are in the flight seat.
I think maybe you can fly it. I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
It'd be really
cool if it is.
Fly. Yeah, I think it might be that cool. I think you might be able to fly the thing, and like explosions and stuff look good. And I don't know. I'm quite because I haven't kind of decided not to get Modern Warfare 2, but I might if this gets good reviews, then I might think about it for Black Ops. I don't know. Treyarch really need to pull one out though, because they haven't really. I mean, Call of Duty. What have they done? Call of Duty 3 was not very well thought of, and then World at War is only
it wasn't exactly.
For...
Yeah, it wasn't exactly being sort of. It wasn't panned, was it? They thought it was good, but it's just nothing new. Was the problem?
Yeah. I mean,
apart from zombie Nazis.
Zombie Nazis. That's what it's remembered for, So I don't know. I'm hoping this will do a bit more. At least it's got the opportunity to jump around in setting a little bit. So you've got the Vietnam stuff, but you've also got other. You could do just set pieces from cool, parts of history.
I don't know. I gotta say, I'm becoming a bit disillusioned with it because the more I think about Modern Warfare, the more I don't like it. It's and they're okay technical games, but I just don't think they're actually much in the way of a game some of the time.
Yeah,
it's like it's just, especially on the harder difficulty levels, it's too much of a random factor.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that.
They lose their fun.
I saw a bit of footage of Rage, which is still in the works. From id. It just looks like id is such a weird. It's like since 1998, they've never learned the lessons of Half-Life. I mean, or it seems to me they're in a world where they've made Quake and then Quake 2, and they're still in that mold almost, and it's over 10 years later. Just look around you, look at Call of Duty even, because it looks good graphically, but he was just like shooting dudes and driving around a bit and shooting more dudes. There was nothing that like convinced me that, I don't know, they've grown up in terms of the game design along with the technology. They push the technology, but they're just not there with
a weird one, in the sense that they have some very clever guys, and some of the tech that they've come up with, fairly recently, has been quite impressive, but not used. In the sense
they go
not
on
many,
and on
not
about
many
that
things
mega
licensed. Not many things licensed the Quake engine or the improved Quake engine when they added the it was Doom 3, wasn't it? The Doom 3 engine with mega textures and
Tech 4 or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't really capitalize on that for some reason. I suppose because Unreal Engine was still taking over. But I find it weird that they haven't made money out of technology, let alone even if their games have suffered.
Yeah, it's odd that their engines aren't because Unreal seems to power everything now. Because I thought Source was going to power a few things because it wasn't just Valve games. I mean, they when Half-Life 2 first came out, they had a couple of games that were Source based that were not them, but that hasn't carried on. So everything is just built in Unreal now, isn't it? Or if it's a built-in engine.
I guess Source has the problem. But I was about to say Source has the problem that anything made in Source would feel like Source, but then again, Unreal Engine has that issue. But then again, we have used it and we've seen it in quite a lot of diverse projects, haven't we? From Mass Effect up to Batman. And,
Batman, all kinds of stuff powered by that. It's interesting.
Blog. It's probably going to be another colossal blog for id.
Indeed, I'm not. Meanwhile, Valve. Speaking of Valve, Portal 2.
That's one thing I have actually seen.
Okay.
I gotta be honest, I was a bit disappointed with all those rumours saying that the whole Portal 2 thing might have been a ruse, and that it was actually like going to turn up in Half-Life Episode 3 or something. And it's like I was a bit disappointed when that was no, it's just Portal 2.
Yeah, the surprise thing was really dumb.
Well, you never know. It might have been cool. It would have been an interesting turnaround in terms of marketing.
I mean, they do keep saying that they want to link these two worlds together somehow, if that ever actually happens.
I think it's going to be harder to do that now.
Yeah, now that you've moved the plot of Portal, because now it's inferring, because the whole, it looked like from the end of Portal originally that it's like, oh, she's going to escape with the portal gun, and then they'll probably just meet up with Gordon Freeman on that boat. But now she obviously gets recaptured because they changed the ending of Portal 1. And you end up in this other portal facility somewhere.
No, it's the same one. It's just thousands of years later, or hundreds of years later.
That won't make any sense, though. It can't be the same one. It visually can't be the same one because all of those different like the pistons and shit that move stuff around, they're all clearly different.
Right. Okay. I don't know about the location chat. I know it's changed in terms of the time, hasn't it? It's obviously got a lot because everything's really overgrown.
At the time either.
Do you think it's a lab that's old in a different place then at the same time?
Yeah, I just think it's not very. I think it's going to be at least very similar time, if not exactly the same time, and just in a different place that hasn't, has sort of fallen into disrepair rather than the one that you were in originally, where it's like this one's still operating.
Because that's not the way I understood it at all. I thought it was, the original
that
facility.
some time has passed, haven't they? Because of the sort of lead up to what GLaDOS is saying and stuff. It's like I've been busy being, dead. And
that might have been a copy of her or something. You don't really know. That's the problem.
But what have you heard anything about the actual game mechanics?
Not really. It just looks like it. I'm sort of worried from the sort of preview video they show where it shows a lot more of like the walls moving and stuff and shifting around. I mean, obviously it did that a bit in the original Portal to like adjust where adjust the puzzles. But with all that shit moving around, I'm getting worried that it's going to turn into a bit of, the old crushing you maneuvers, where it's like you're going to be constantly dying because you accidentally stood in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, they're not done, though, are they? I think they know what made Portal good, so they've got to... Because it's got to be about figuring out the puzzle before you get, crushed over and over again, doesn't it? I mean...
But the original Portal didn't really have any puzzles very much that had time limits. That's the thing that they definitely need to avoid, putting in any kind of time limiting.
Yeah. I think they might know that, though.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, so the mechanics I've heard of, I've seen a little bit of the goo, which look really interesting. Which is it's like paint, so it comes out of a funnel or something, and then you can send it through portals. So you can, and then it paints over a surface in the color of the goo, like orange, for example. And depending on the color, it changes the properties of the surface. So you can have ones that make you skid really fast along it, which helps with the momentum. So, and ones that are really bouncy, like blue is bouncy, I think. So you'll bounce higher if you hit. Instead of just hitting the ground, you'll bounce or something on the blue surface. So you have to paint the right areas of the level, the right color, and then combine it with the portals. And there's various other, it seemed like they've got a lot of new ideas and stuff. And it's the combination. That's the thing. It's not going to be like, this new mechanic now solve a problem with a new mechanic. It's going to be that always going to come back to the portals, isn't it? Because that's going to be the key to everything. Obviously, that's the name of the game. But just
the interesting thing with all this is that Valve said the first game, the reason why people like it was because of it surprised you.
Exactly.
Especially with the whole second half of the game, it was just like, oh, okay, right,
yeah,
and that's why people like it. And it's they've sort of explicitly said, well, this time we're going to have to surprise you again,
which is good, yeah. That's exactly what they said.
We know all this stuff, but there's going to be something more to it.
Absolutely, there will be.
But that's the trouble. It's can you just imagine what they're going to do this time? Like
it's going to be crazy. My brain is going to melt when I get to the latest stage of the Portal 2.
But can it really be that complicated? It's like, there's only so many things you can do with directing things through portals.
Well, I don't know. It can get... I mean, I was surprised how complicated that Portal... If you think about it, like, if you were just presented with one of those puzzles at the end of the game without having all the training of going through the previous puzzles, you might have got really confused, you know.
No, I'd say the ones at the end of the game are almost easier because there's less places you can shoot portals to.
Okay, not. I don't know. You know, the height of the complexity, I guess, of Portal 1. Like
the last test chamber was pretty tricky, really. I mean,
for example,
it was very weird, that last segment.
Is that the one with all the turrets on like platforms?
No,
it's not very descriptive.
That's quite
is it?
early, really.
Yeah, okay.
But the turrets on platform wasn't very difficult because once you just saw that you just had to knock them off platforms. The advanced version of that test chamber was a bastard.
Right,
where all the turrets on the platforms were in cages, so you couldn't knock them off.
Oh god. Oh dear. Oh, the advanced versions of Portal 2 are going to keep us going for a while. Can you imagine? I don't know. I wonder if they could imagine co-op Portal. Think about that. You know, or like where you don't have control of both ends of the portal, or
you've broken it.
What do you mean?
No one would have noticed. Dan was talking. The fact that the Chinese string instrument played just then.
Well, no one will have noticed that at all.
Nothing.
How come I can't hear Dan any longer? Oh, you've disconnected me.
Oh, well, that's quite serious.
Is that what's happened?
That would explain why I can only no longer hear Dan.
This might be quite a dramatic technical issue, actually.
Is this major?
Oh, wait, I heard a click.
Hello,
speak, Dad, speak.
I am talking. This is our technical issues in the middle of our Saladcast here. We're having a problem here.
Fuck.
We may have to cut short.
Fuckity fuck.
Wiggle that bit. Wiggle it.
I think it's the cable on the back of the headset is busted.
Okay. Are we going to have to shut this down then?
No, we can just talk about Zeg, because he won't hear anything we're saying until he plays it back.
Yeah, this is going to be real helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that's Access. Oh, this is all falling apart as well. What the bloody hell?
This was like the only bit of the podcast. What? This is like the only bit of the E3 that I could actually talk about.
Talk about it then. We'll
just talk.
Oh, but now I don't know what to say because I didn't. I only saw that video, so I haven't exactly got much info to go on.
Of Portal 2? Oh, of course. You can't hear what I'm saying. So this is helpful. Oh dear. Okay.
You guys just pretend to talk to each other for a bit.
Oh, this would be real good. Oh wait, I can take Rob's headphones. That will help. Hold on.
Hello.
Oh, except the cable's not quite long enough. Now I can hear you, Dan, probably.
Hi, Zach. Okay.
Hello. And I'm having to lean close to the microphone, so this is going to probably be loud. I'll talk quieter.
Okay. A game that we used to play is Deus Ex.
Yes. They're meant to be making a sequel, aren't they?
And they're making a sequel, Deus Ex 3, and I've seen some stuff about it at E3, so I thought we might talk about it.
Yes.
So I actually think they might actually understand what made Deus Ex good. Which is the first thing you need really for this to make a decent Deus Ex 3, really, isn't it?
But all they need to understand is all they need to understand is Deus Ex 1 was the good, and then Deus Ex 2 was the bad. So if you subtract Deus Ex 2 from Deus Ex 1, you can't possibly fail.
That's true. Oh dear. So
Deus Ex minus 1.
Yes, it is a prequel. Yes, it's interesting because they're saying people are saying they're looking at their screenshots and saying, well, that looks more advanced, the technology in this, than stuff in the first game. But then it's like, well, if you look around the real world, like flat screen TVs look a lot more advanced than the TVs in Deus Ex. Because they look really lame.
They did have flat screens on their computers, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they had those cool or like Avatar, where you could see through them, didn't they? But they also had like big 4:3 ratio TVs with people going over and over again. So,
I guess.
Yeah. So, but it looked pretty cool. It's like they get the idea that you can approach any situation, guns blazing or stealth or social engineering. So they understand, and they've stated explicitly that you can go through the entire game without killing everyone, if you want, stuff like that. So, and the close in like melee kills look really cool, like sneak up on someone, and because they're dynamic.
Well, as long as they're not just hit someone with a baton until they fall over.
Because it was so bad in the first game. Yeah, and they're dynamically generated, so they're not like a canned animation. So that's quite cool. And it's got this sort of black and gold sort of visual style. Like everything's sort of gold. I don't know. I think it looks sort of cool.
Could be alright.
So yeah,
it makes it look slightly more aged, perhaps, than the Deus Ex sort of grey.
Well, it was black and green, really.
Was it green?
Everything had that slight green hint of green. It was always because it had that weird like sort of overlay effect.
Yeah, texture
over the screen,
overlay thing. Yeah,
where it made everything slightly green and weirdly textured.
Yeah, I remember that. The one that made it look like everything looked a bit like a chocolate bar, and the square formation knobbling.
Strange.
That was weird.
It's a technical term there, knobbling.
But basically, fingers crossed for that, because I mean, it's almost like hoping for a great Sonic game, isn't it? It's like you're going to be disappointed in a way, but you can't help helping anyway. Hoping, and so I really hope that they make a good Deus Ex game. Because I think it's astonishing.
Fiddle around with that sellotape on air, making noise.
I'm just having a brief look inside this headset, see why it's busted.
Yes, we fixed the temporary technical problem.
Have you? Can you both hear me then?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, fixed. Okay. So yes, that's Deus Ex 3.
I have no idea why this isn't working, or why it went wrong.
Oh well, forget about it until we finish this. How are we doing for time anyway? On this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
A whole half an hour.
You heard
half an hour before the 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's half an hour until we hit that 2 hour recommended limit.
Okay. Little Big Planet 2, as you said, it is happening.
I was waiting for this moment. I'm actually really quite excited about it.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's just awesome. It's like one of my big concerns. Like I always wanted to make a level based on base jumpers on the Amiga and LBP, and I couldn't because the level of control I couldn't I wanted for the base jumping bit where you're falling to the ground just wasn't possible. I kept trying to think of ways to devising a contraption or something where you can a contraption.
It's a spectacular contraption.
Yeah, it was a shit contraption to try and control your flight left and right that could like explode or something if you hit some sort of obstacles, unless I made the obstacles out of explosives or something. I don't know. It would have been difficult to pull off, but they've sort of got around that problem by introducing this idea of direct control seats, where Sackboy sits in a chair or something, and you then take the direct control object assigns specific motors or switches in the world to specific buttons on the controller. So you have direct control over whatever it is, meaning that when you control a car, for instance, you're not controlling Sackboy pulling a lever to make it going forwards and backwards. You actually have direct control of that motor that makes it go forward and back.
Right, great.
A much greater sense of control.
Brilliant.
Which is brilliant, because basically, to sum it up, Joystick had a great quote that said, in the first game, you couldn't make real-time strategy games. You now can. It's
RTS? How can you make an RTS?
Yeah. Well, apparently you have the ability to do top-down as well now.
Okay.
So you're not limited to the side-scrolling platform world, but you can now do top-down, and presumably through methods of control and switches and things like that, you could probably sort of tell certain things where to go. And you get AI control as well, so they can mimic other items or behave differently in certain circumstances. And but basically, they've opened the world up completely. The game has changed now. As creative as LBP was, you always had to make a platformer.
right.
with certain things. But now you can pretty much change every element of platforming and do some other crazy stuff while you're at it.
Great.
Do away with Sackboy altogether. Just have cars.
Because I thought Little Big Planet had kind of gone as far as it could go. I was worried that a sequel would just be a waste of time, but they've completely opened it up.
I hadn't considered they would take it this far. I always thought that perhaps that was beyond what they intended for Little Big Planet, but turns out, thankfully, I was wrong, and that they're actually going to make it basically like a click and create games studio.
Almost, yeah, talking almost that kind of level,
but with all the physics and stuff just as standard. You can tweak the physics and stuff as well, so you can change the floatiness. So if you do want to make a platformer, you can make it so it handles a bit more like a normal thing rather than...
that would be good.
Jello Man.
So you can make it handle more like Super Mario Brothers 1 than
in theory, yeah.
Little Big Planet. Okay. I heard that all the levels are made without cheating by the developers now, as in every level in the campaign is made with the game tools. Yeah.
Yep, same as the first game. No cheating involved. Everything that they made, you could make.
Yeah.
And it was visible as well. All the motors and stuff and the triggers and stuff were visible in the levels. They weren't hidden by anything or hidden behind a plane or something. They let you see what they used to make a level.
So that's cool. So that's exciting, isn't it?
I know. I'm actually really because just imagine it. I was never much of a creator because I don't have that kind of time. But I'm really excited now about what the community are going to come up with for it. Speaking of which, though, we did find a genius level the other day on LBP1. We were playing just because of that announcement came out, and I was like, you know what, I'm quite excited about this. Let's go finish LBP1. So we did, and then started playing some community levels. And there was this brilliant one, which is giant shark attack, basically. I can't remember the exact name of it, but you drop down from the sky onto these floating platforms with this humongous shark monster chasing you. But that's not the problem. No, that's fine at that stage. Yeah, the idea is you have to sort of run along these floating platforms to get to the end of the level, we think, before getting eaten by the giant shark. But in the process, there are these little diddy ones that seem to move at rocket speed that home right in on you. And when you get in, and they sort of they angle themselves so their mouth basically just go for you, and then they clamp down and bite you and crush you to death. But the other thing that happens is that these things obviously run into the islands and stuff, but with such force that they disrupt them all and make them bounce around and cause water effects to sort of wobble them all about and stuff, meaning you'll get flung about all over the place, and chances are you have no control over where you're going. But it's just hilarious and random and brilliant.
Cool. Okay.
Even if it wasn't much of a game, it was hilarious.
Well, that's half the battle, isn't it? Making hilarious stuff to put on those kind of community sites. They're always the stuff that does well, isn't it? Really, stuff that's a bit of a joke and fun at the same time.
Just really funny. If you can just imagine if, based on that physics engine with some direct control stuff as well, you can make all kinds of mental stuff. Like, if you wanted to, in theory, you could make a top-down racer with, car controls like Micro Machines.
That'd be fun. Zach, you'd be onto that, wouldn't you? You've been trying to make a Micro Machines game and Games Factory for a while.
But I think it's safe to say that no matter what you do, it will never turn out to be actually as good as Micro Machines control.
Well, no, that was one of the arguments people have made about it, is that what LBP2 will do is give you lots of mediocre games.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to play them. No,
and half the thing of the game is, ooh, what is this? Because you really won't know what you're getting into until you play it.
No, I guess not. Does it have a star rating system, the first one?
Yeah, you get a rating system and a heart system so people can sort of add it to their favourites list. There's also a tagging system where there's a set list of words that you can sort of say, that apply to this level.
Okay.
And stuff like that. And that's kind of how it's worked. But apparently they're improving all that aspect as well, so it's easier to find levels.
I bet
at the moment, you tend to browse whatever's on the default planet, but now you've got ways of going to visit specific authors' planets so you can see all the levels they've made.
Okay.
So if there's a series of stupid levels, it's easier to do the series.
I bet you'll be able to post your level to Facebook.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully they'll be able to do something about the comment system, though, because at the moment it's completely redundant. Because the only thing that anyone ever says in the comment system is, come play my level, please. Right, they never actually make a comment. It's just like, play my level, no, play my level. Although, I mean, if it was on PC, they kind of voice.
If it was on PC, they'd make so many retarded YouTube comments, wouldn't they? If it was with a keyboard.
Yeah.
But as it is, like, no one could be bothered to make retarded YouTube comments by using a gamepad, because that would take forever.
Yeah. Although the PS3 is probably capable of having a keyboard plugged into it.
I know, but people aren't going to, just so they can go, cool game, bro.
Yeah. GG.
GG and all that, yeah. It'd be a waste of time reading that stuff anyway. I think the rating system is quite good. The stars. I noticed that YouTube have dumped the star rating system and just gone for the Facebook.
Which is retarded.
Yeah, now it's...
I mean, not that anyone ever really used any option apart from 1 and 5, obviously.
Yeah, so...
But the fact that now there isn't the option to not use 1 or 5, and no one's going to use 1 because now the 1 has become a thumbs down, that doesn't mean the same as 1, really.
I guess. Well, it kind
saying you totally hate something is not necessarily... Saying, like, no to something is not necessarily the same as saying, this is pretty shitty, but whatever.
Yeah, but you wouldn't rate something 1 star that you were saying is pretty shitty, but whatever, because that's going to bring down the star rating. You just would ignore it. You'd only vote 1 star in order to deliberately bring down the star rating because you hated it, right?
And because you don't want other people to see it.
Exactly. So, and because you're helping the site by saying this isn't quality, this is crap. So yeah. So I think just the up and down does work. I mean, it's quite sensible.
Well, it's like the dig system, isn't it? And the comment
system
same. They now use
Reddit
several websites and
upvote and downvote, and now Facebook have got the like thing, which is now integrated into the connect thing for other websites. So you go all over the internet now, and it's like this. Be the first of your Facebook friends to like this. Only 9,000 people have liked it before.
I just think
have you not seen that?
I just think
I don't want to see it.
You will. You will see it.
Well, actually, the only thing I like about the like button is it means I don't have to write a comment to things I can't be asked to write a comment about and just sort of say, I've seen this, that's fine. I can be social without being social.
I still think that having the like and dislike option, I think less people are likely to hit dislike than people who would do 1 star. I think that I don't think it has the same, I don't think it causes the same reaction in people.
Maybe. For me, it's like, I'm quite likely to like something, but I would never have rated anything. So it's actually encouraging me to participate where I absolutely didn't before. So.
Well, but then...
If it was the only option I've rated, I mean, if it was the only way of doing something, I would rate over making a comment.
But
put it that way.
When you have, I mean, with the like thing, to say you like this... Yeah. That's more what I would have said the sort of system to add things to your favorites is for. To store things that you like.
Yeah. No, that makes more sense to me, actually, in a way. You almost want the rating system and in the way that LBP has done, in fact, that you have the rating system and the heart system as separate.
Yeah.
As you can rate it as being very good, but you don't necessarily have to heart it and have a reference to it.
A favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's got the favourite system in YouTube as well as, doesn't it? Because you can save favourites as well as liking or rating stuff, can't you?
Maybe.
But then it's like...
does that tie into the sort of, like, popularity system of YouTube? Does
favoriting
something, like, improve its rating on the site, so other people see it? Because it should.
It's like, does it need to be 2 separate buttons?
No, it doesn't.
Should it just not be one thing where you like it and it adds it to your favourites?
Well, I wouldn't want a whole list of stuff I'd liked.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Because then you're getting into granularity.
Because I don't use the favourite system on YouTube. It's there, but if I wanted to see something again, I would bookmark it using my browser rather than using YouTube's interface. I mean, it's good that it's there, I guess, but and I'm sure lots of people use it a lot. But if you add it
to your favourites in YouTube, when you go to your page in YouTube, they all appear in a list.
Yeah, that's true. So that's good. So,
I think at this point, as we've been talking about E3 for... Well, nearly 2 hours now. And,
it's our E3 special, man.
Well, no, but we've been talking about E3 for nearly 2 hours, and apart from LBP2, we've barely mentioned the PlayStation. It's like our interest has stemmed from a game for their system.
Well, I want to talk about one thing I did see on the PlayStation. Okay, because I'd seen the demo of Zelda Skyward Sword. And so, did you see that? You didn't see this, but in the Nintendo press conference, what happened was this American guy was showing off Skyward Sword, and he was fucking it up, but he was deliberately fucking it up. Okay, he was going, "Oh, I can't do this." Oh, and then you saw Miyamoto on a screen going, "No, you have to hold it like a shield." And then he burst through a screen, and he was actually there, and he picked it up, and he's going, "I'll show you how to do it." And then, just like Apple, they had Wi-Fi interference and technical problems, and even Miyamoto couldn't bloody play the game. So it was really hilarious. But he could mostly play it, but when he was trying to aim the bow, it went completely wrong and everyone was like, "Turn off your Wi-Fi" and all this. Anyway, but I saw a demo of PlayStation Move, and they had this game called Sorcery. And it was basically a complete rip-off of Harry Potter in concept. But he was swooshing and flicking his wand, which was one-to-one control with the Move, wand. Yeah, the Move remote, and it genuinely looked really good. He was doing the flick to it was full 3D environment, just like Zelda. He was navigating using the second controller nunchuck thing, and he was flicking the thing to launch attacks and doing all kind of swirling it in the air to create a little hurricane and stuff. And it actually looked, I dare I say, it looked better to control than Zelda.
It does look like Move has better freedom of movement and freedom of detection than the Wii.
Yeah, so I was quite impressed by that. So check out Sorcery. Obviously, the concept of the game is, sort of dumb, but the actual execution of the moves.
I have to say, while technically this all may be true, I don't really have much faith in Sony pulling off the market they're aiming for.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? I don't think they'll. It's like, casual gaming, motion control. This is exactly what it's for. I don't think they're going to do it that well.
Not when the PS3 costs so much.
Not when the PS3 costs so much. Not when they don't really have much of a casual lineup in terms of games.
It doesn't really fit quite with, because their image is kind of quite slick and high tech, isn't it? An early adopter, and it almost doesn't fit, because Nintendo's always had, even though secretly, some of the Nintendo games are really hardcore and everyone loves them, but and they come up with new things like the analog stick and stuff that are really important, but it still has this kind of kiddie Game Boy image all the way back from the 80s, doesn't it?
Sure.
Which kind of fits perfectly with their Wii master plan, and with their DS stuff. And whereas Nintendo just don't have the... Oh, sorry, Sony don't have that, do they? I mean, the iToy and stuff.
They've never got their experiments right, is the thing. When they've stuck to core gaming, they've got it fairly, they haven't done a bad job, let's put it that way. But, when they've come to their experiments like the iToy and things like that, it's just not really worked out for them. I'm a little bit concerned as well, because the cost of entry for the Move must be fairly high, because you have to buy an iToy and controllers.
Yeah, I
except for the fact you can apparently get a big glowing orb that just attaches to your 6-axis, and that will work as well. But
they're going to have to price it competitively with the Kinect. I don't know. I mean,
did they announce prices for the Kinect?
I don't think they did, but I don't think
$599
it's not going to be that
Ridge much. Racer.
It's Ridge Racer.
Did you see the? Racer. We haven't talked about the fact there's a new Xbox format, have we? The Slim or
the
not
Slim.
Don't call it the Slim, because it isn't the Slim. In fact, it's not
the
Slimmer.
Slim.
No, I don't know what it. I can't remember what it's called.
The Xbox Thin.
Or is it the Xbox Lite?
It's actually Lite. I think it's actually the correct term really would be Xbox Short, because it's about the same thickness, but it's shorter and it's got a much smaller power brick. But
there are a few things that annoy me about it. I mean, I like the new design visually. I think it's pretty cool, provided that the plastic they've used doesn't. It worryingly looks like the type of plastic they sort of you'd like store stuff in the attic. Sort of really flimsy looking plastic, which is one concern. Secondly, isn't one of the biggest problems with the Xbox is its capacity to overheat?
Yeah,
it's like they say that's the big cause of the red rings of death. So it's like by making it smaller, surely you're sort of increasing the likelihood of causing red rings.
No, because I don't think.
In theory, the architecture means that it runs cooler, but it's a bit of a risk.
It's not just that though, because they've got a massive fan on the side of the case, because that's what's solved the noise problem. Because that's the thing I'm most excited about this new one, is it's not really much smaller, but I don't really care about it being smaller.
Well,
it's really
quiet. The noise problem came from the drive, and apparently it's the same drive being used in the new one.
Yeah, I guess, but you can just install stuff now, especially since it's got 250 gig hard drive.
Yeah, I suppose that is alleviating that problem somewhat.
Yeah, and my drive is certainly a lot
freaking noisy.
Well, my drive is a lot quieter because I sent it for repair when I got my one red ring of death, and they replaced the drive, I think, because my one stuck sometimes when it ejected, and I think they just went, oh, we'll replace the whole drive, because you can tell, because not only is it a lot quieter, but you can tell because the actual shape of the tray is different.
They did go through a couple of iterations of drives.
Yeah, so I think, because you still got your, I don't know.
I've still got a first gen.
Yeah,
absolutely,
and that first gen drive.
First gen. I mean, it's been through the shop a few times, but it's still all the original
stuff.
Basically.
Yeah. I think I was really lucky that they switched out my drive, but it's quiet relatively. So presumably this new one will have the newest drives, which are relatively quiet. But it's
still noisy.
Yeah,
even with the new drives, it's still noisy.
It's true. I don't know, but the installing thing does alleviate that somewhat. I mean, because it doesn't have to be spun up. When I was playing Red Dead, it was nice and quiet, because I installed it. It was 700 megs or something though, and I've only got the original hard disk. 20 gig, isn't it, or something? Is it 700 megs? No, 7 gigs. Sorry. Yeah, so 250 is a lot more. So, and it's going to be the same price as well. So they're not raising.
Well, I'm not finished
price
yet. There's still more niggles.
Go on.
Niggle number 3: the removal of the memory card slots.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know this is they wanted to do this because nobody uses memory cards really, but I use them. It's useful to put my profile on it and move it around. Like when we used to come to yours and play Left 4 Dead, for instance, I didn't have to bring my Xbox. I could just bring my memory card.
Well, can you do that with a flash drive now?
Well, in theory, yes, but I'm sure there are some things you can't move. Like I'm sure I have some games that are stored on the memory card that I can't move to the hard disk for some reason. That's really ridiculous. So I'm not sure how I'd move them off or transfer them onto a hard disk. And worse than that, if we were using a flash drive, it would take up one of your precious USB ports, of which there are still only 3.
No, there's 5.
There's 5?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the other 2 in the design.
Additionally, there's a special connector for the Kinect, so that won't take up one of the USB ports either.
That's cool.
Yeah, because the Kinect
consider that niggle gone.
Yeah, because that Kinect needs power if you have an original Xbox, but it can suck power off the new Xbox. Is special.
Yeah, that was the thing. I found it quite. Yeah, that's actually quite annoying. Actually, that they couldn't make it just power itself off USB. At the end of the day, it's just a camera and a mic.
Yeah, I guess.
You'd think that could power itself off.
Yeah. So it needs.
Unless the Kinect itself is doing quite a lot of processing.
I think it does do some, doesn't it, in the hardware?
And I always figured it would offload it to the Xbox.
No, because that would compromise performance of the games quite a lot, wouldn't it? If it was doing a lot of.
True, so but it doesn't really compromise the Wii, does it? The sort of
the Wii was already compromised.
Arguably, yeah. I think the more
6 axis
processing
didn't really affect PS3 and all that stuff. You have to process.
But what uses 6 axis?
Well, it's exactly the same as the Wiimote, pretty much. In terms of what you could do with it.
What you could do, but what people do with it.
Do.
I think Kinect probably requires, if you're looking at the raw data from the cameras and stuff, it probably requires a lot more processing, to do finding out the body where people are and stuff than just processing the 3D data from a Wiimote or a 6 axis.
I guess, but I don't think in that tiny little unit that there's going to be like a processing powerhouse to do that sort of thing, which the Xbox excuse me throat going which the Xbox is.
That's true you just did that
oh no, that's actually dry. My throat's drying up quite badly.
Sit back down.
Yeah, you think that's it? It's because I've sort of leant forward slightly.
Yeah, I don't know why you did that.
I don't know, just felt like moving, you know. We sit here for a couple of hours. I need to shuffle.
That's true. Do the shuffle. Yeah, so that's interesting.
What was my other niggle? I wasn't up. So are those extra USB ports? Are they like on the front of the device?
I'm not sure.
Like in a hidden compartment? Because I'm sure when I looked at the back, I could only see 3.
Oh, perhaps they are. Perhaps there's 2 on the front and 3 on the back, rather than 2 and 1 on the back.
That was going to lead me to my next worry: is that if the USB ports are on the back, then surely you'd have to plug wired controllers in on the back.
Yeah, that's not good.
Which is rubbish.
Yeah, there must be some on the
Sony
front.
have made that mistake in the past before with the. Do you remember the PSX?
Yes, in Japan only, wasn't it?
The special edition PS2.
Yeah, I think I know.
Which looked a bit more like an entertainment separate, which was cool.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that it had all the memory card and controller ports on the back of the unit.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Which was a bad idea.
That was weird, that thing, because there was the GameCube, that Panasonic DVD.
The Panasonic Q, that was cool, though.
That was strange. It's kind of cool, though.
Well, it was a good idea, because it's like, well, if people want DVD capability back in a GameCube, here it is. Here's your alternative.
Yeah.
Stylishly shiny box.
That would never happen now, though, because would it? To think about it, it's a
that was
different
the only time where a licensed deal from Nintendo's hardware elsewhere actually got used, because a lot of the current generation consoles actually sort of said at one point, well, we could license it out so it ends up as part of tellies directly. And I think Ninty said that about the Wii, and Sony definitely said that about PlayStation 3.
Yeah. Yes, they make
that
TVs,
it might end up being that it might end up being built into televisions and things like that. Oh god.
Wow.
It just doesn't happen.
Interesting.
The Q does look cool though. I'm just looking at pictures of it now with its neon controller ports.
Yeah. Well,
it's awesome.
Compared to the Xbox 360 Lite, I think it's quite old-fashioned tech, but still pretty cool. Could play F-Zero effects on that.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention about the Slim. It doesn't actually have the ability of having a red ring of death.
Okay, what does it do?
That cannot happen because there are no red lights.
So what happens when it goes wrong?
I don't know. Presumably you get a green ring of death.
Ring of death, yeah. That's going to be the next.
Or a grod.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that starts happening, and there's a whole internet meme about it. It's all
grod. I just found that funny though. It's like we can get around the red ring of death fiasco by not putting red lights in it.
Not having any red lights. Oh, genius!
It's the best Get Out ever. Well, maybe not ever, but it's probably been better Get Out.
Zach, you got anything else to add to our E3 discussion? Anything?
What did you want to see?
Yeah,
and hasn't been there.
I think I already mentioned it. Really.
What, like Advance Wars?
Well, yeah, John's son, and that was it. I guess.
Did you see any coverage of Civ 5?
No.
Well, of course he didn't, because he didn't say so or anything. But
yeah, I didn't see anything. I guess Civ 5 would be it.
Have you not been on the internet this week?
Well, I don't have time to sit around watching videos or shit.
Yes, Mr. Unemployed Man.
Someone always comes along and interrupts. And they don't want me using... I don't know where the headphone ports are on the Mac either, so I can't have my headphones plugged in order to be able to listen to shit.
Yeah, Apple. Simplicity, design, can't fucking find the headphone ports.
Because they're not even... I mean, I'm sure they're there, but they're not on the front. They're not even on the side. They're actually all the way on the back of that giant monitor.
So you'd have to have one of those awkward head-leaning moments to try and find
you'd have to look all the way down there at the back or tilt the whole system awkwardly.
It doesn't sound very sensible. No. So when is your PC arriving then?
Should arrive... well, I keep saying this, but it's like it should arrive this week. Early this week, god damn it. It's only meant to take 5 to 8 days. But yeah, then when we checked on Thursday, it still hadn't even got to the stage of being built.
So selected the components and then paid for them to put them together?
Well, it's just like select the components into a PC, just one of those regular style of sites. Select what you want in this box, and then they'll build it.
Okay, fair enough. So that'll arrive soon, and you'll have plenty of interesting PC-related things to talk about next week.
Probably not. Probably what I'll have is me basically playing all the games that I've already talked about several times before again, but now in better graphics mode.
But now in 3D.
Now sharper than ever before.
Woo! So
in colour.
So heading back to the old school, let's bring it back down to Sonic 4, Episode 1.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
What do you think, Mr. Sonic Man?
I think I've made myself clear.
Woo!
Woo! Well, yeah, it's going to be everything it says on the tin, and as the reports are, that it's quite literally just Sonic 2 with funky graphics.
Yeah,
which,
I see it's got the...
no bad thing.
It's got the Sonic Adventure sort of homing
attack
attack thing. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Who cares about that?
And you know what? I don't know about that, to be honest.
It doesn't matter because most of the time in those old school Sonic games, you don't actually bother to stop and fight enemies. You just run past them.
Well, presumably they'll use it like they do.
Well, to make like bridges and shit,
yeah.
Where you home attack across a bunch of enemies. Yeah, probably.
I was kind of hoping that they'd, separate off and not consider anything that they'd used from the 3D age onwards. They would like just go back. So I suppose the homing tech is part of Sonic's main arsenal now, but it's always in every game that he has.
I don't see
much. It is now.
I don't see why none of the 2D games haven't used Light Dash.
That's true.
It's an entirely pointless mechanic.
They did in Sonic Unleashed, if that counts. The 2D sections made use of the light dash and the homing attack mechanics, which is why I'm mildly disappointed that it's in Sonic 4 because they've done that before. They did it before in Sonic Unleashed, and that was it's a bit different. And the bit that's confusing me is that Sonic Colors, from all I can tell, is supposed to be Sonic Unleashed without the wolf. So it's like, why do they need to repeat mechanics between the two games? If Sonic Colors is supposed to have all that stuff, then surely Sonic 4 should have gone in a different direction.
I don't know. Interesting. Well, I hope it's up to your, your stringent, tastes.
Well, you don't really consider my Sonic takes that strict, so it's
no, but
well, they are. I hope it's like maybe what you actually like is more strict, but you still end up buying everything. Like Sonic 2006.
Exactly. It was. I didn't buy that.
Oh no, that's true.
I was given that.
It was a present.
Oh really? Oh dear.
I probably would have bought it for myself eventually, but just not while it was quite expensive. So fresh. Yeah.
You have some crap games that people have just given you, like Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive.
Yeah. Genius. That must have been a joke, but that's a lot of money to spend on a joke. Like
it
40
was a
quid.
Joke. But then again, that had been out a year or two by the time I got hold of that. So
that's still unbelievably ridiculous. Can you imagine? Oh, Connect. Because Connectimals or whatever, it's going to be not long until there's some ridiculous Dead or Alive beach volleyball kind of game featuring the Connect.
Oh man, no, that's a whole new level of disturbing, isn't it? You could actually jiggle boobs with your hands.
Combine that
them up.
Combine that with the 3D effect, and there you go. I thought it was quite interesting that quite inevitable that they changed the Milo thing from a little boy to a tiger cub or something a little less prone to
that's not better. Well, it's like you moved from pedophiles to furries.
That's more acceptable.
Yeah.
As disturbing as it is, it's actually more acceptable.
But not if it's a tiger cub, because then you've just combined paedophile and furry into one.
Furrified. What would it be? A pedophile?
Oh man, do you know what the furries are saying about that demo of? Because they had a little girl come up on the Microsoft.
Was the little girl a furry?
No, the little girl was a normal little Asian girl. Not normal, obviously, because she was a child. She was a child.
Why are you laughing at that? It's just Zach just going, if we just cut that out. It's just like, Asian.
Don't you know LOL Asian?
LOL Asian?
But but it's quite it wasn't a LOL Asian, it was a hut Asian. It makes it sound more racist.
Yeah. So the black one from Destiny's Child.
Okay.
Yeah. So the little kid, obviously very well rehearsed to get this exactly right in front of this massive cloud, and all credit to her, she got it perfectly right. Where Shigeru Miyamoto couldn't manage to control his own Zelda game. So
technical issues.
Yeah, technical issues, but. No technical issues with this Kinect demo, and she was just like playing with this tiger cub. It was just like the Milo thing, except slightly less creepy because it wasn't like Peter Molyneux.
But did the tiger cub talk or whatever?
No, it didn't talk. No, it just did like tricks and stuff. Like she jumped in the air and it jumped, and then she hid behind a sofa, and it was like, "Where's it gone?"
Wait, this sounds almost exactly like Lionhead not delivering on their promises. We couldn't deal with speech recognition, so we made it an animal.
Oh, that familiar sound of Lionhead not delivering on their promises. Yes, and then she did skipping. Like she held one end of the skipping rope and skipped and spun it around. And there was a cool moment for all the like geeks in the audience where it was like, "Oh, this is the cute little game," and then it went into bullet time and like span around the tiger for no reason. In the middle of that, it was quite dumb.
But surely that would really interrupt your rope swinging if it suddenly slowed down.
Well, no, it went into bullet time and then it span around like in the Matrix where it went around laterally around the character. Yeah, it would. But I mean, it completely interrupt the actual.
Interrupt your rhythm.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Oh, it was pretty dumb. But Connectimals. Oh, how many names are going to be like? Use that stupid Connect because it's already two
Connectimals is already shit.
Yeah.
They can't. It's like can't think of any worse ones than that.
No, nothing much worse than that. I don't know.
At least it wasn't. At least they didn't. At least they called it moles, like animals, rather than trying to make it a specific animal.
Connect
it's like
4.
What if it was a tiger, like tiger?
No.
Or a dog, Knog.
Knog or Connect. Or Kanaji.
Rob, there is a game called Connect 4. Guess what kind of game it is?
It's not Kinect 4, then.
No, it is Kinect.
The
Kinect
MB
4.
game.
Yeah, it's a golf game.
Connect 4.
There you go.
Spelt wrong.
Spelt wrong, yeah.
Spelt wrong but right.
Wrong but right,
and
yeah.
It doesn't...
MB suing?
I don't know. They should do, shouldn't they? Although I don't know if you can if it's both words are spelt completely differently, but it sounds phonetically exactly the same. Then
so they're not. Is it called something else in America or something like 4 in a row or something retarded? Or...
No, I think maybe 4 is universal.
I don't know. It's possible.
Of
course, there's probably off-brand versions of it that are called 4 in a row or whatever.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that one is universal. A lot of board games are fairly universal. Obviously, Monopoly is. Where's the first city of Monopoly? Is it like Philadelphia or something? Boston? No, it wasn't London. That's for sure.
No.
Gaming.
Wow, Connect 4 is classed. Its genre is abstract strategy.
I guess that makes sense.
Very weird.
Would you call tic-tac-toe or noughts and crosses? Would you call that abstract?
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Adventures in Wikipedia. Here we go. I've actually searched Wikipedia, not the net in general.
Yes.
Wikipedia.
Let's see.
It doesn't have one of those.
Oh, it doesn't have a box.
It's not a classed as anything.
It's not classed as a game. What is it?
Oh, I guess that makes... It's not like a sold board game like Connect 4.
No, I guess not.
If you look up Mousetrap...
Look up Monopoly. I want to see what Monopoly's class is.
Monopoly. That'd be like... macroeconomic strategy...
Would it help if Rob could spell Monopoly?
not mono... It's Monolopy.
Monolopy. Oh, God.
Do I want to play a game of Monopoly now?
Oh, now you've gone into the page for the legal meaning of Monopoly, not the game.
Here we go. It's classed as...
It doesn't have a genre on this one.
It says you require negotiation and resource management skills.
You have to go in and edit that page, man. Go into Wikipedia.
Just check. I'd like to propose the edit for strategic bastardism.
Okay, that might be vandalism, but still.
What about Scrabble?
Exactly what the game
wait, that would be a word game.
Yeah, that would be word bastardism. Sodomy of language.
It's ironic because the word bastardism probably wouldn't get you.
Probably isn't the word. Let's look that up.
Exactly.
Let's look that up. What are you going to dictionary it?
Bastardism.
It's not a word. Come on, you just made
It's
that
not a
up.
word. No, it's suggested. No. Did you mean bastardi?
Oh dear.
Which must be Italian.
Hey, no. Topics on Twitter related to bastard. Oh no, that's bastard dim.
Stop searching the internet. Does not make for a good podcasting. How we do for time?
There's plenty of it left in the world.
Hurrah! But what about in this podcast?
5 minutes.
Really? Okay.
Time flies when you're dissing board games.
Dissing board games.
When you're playing abstract strategy.
Yeah. And what's it abstracted from is the question. Because abstract can mean like it came from something.
Oh, what you mean? You mean what do these like different coloured discs actually represent?
Represent like whole tank divisions or something.
But then why do you have to get 4 in a row?
Legions of discus throwers.
Like, what do you need to get 4 of in a row? Or not necessarily 4, but what do you need to make things in a line of in order to win something?
Drugs.
I don't.
Yes, Connect 4 is abstracted from drugs. It's like if you can make a long enough line, then you win.
What the hell? So you think the red discs represent cocaine and the yellow discs
blockers of heroin tabs?
Oh dear.
Well, no, heroin isn't in tab form, is it? No.
You're out of touch with drug content.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
I don't think you can get heroin in tablet form. Maybe you probably can.
Probably not.
No. You can
get everything in tab form. You can get a chicken dinner in a tablet. You can.
No, it's like cops and robbers or something, or like bad guys and good guys in Connect 4. So it's like the red is cocaine, and then the yellow is like pixie dust or something.
Sherbet.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Sherbet. Yeah, something innocuous that kids like.
That's still powdered. Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to put
sherbet wins again.
But if you put sherbet in a line and snorted it, that would not be good for you.
Having spoken from experience, it still fucking hurts.
Yeah, that would not be a win.
It still hurts today.
Oh dear. Why did you do that?
There was a group of us in sixth form. We got bored, so we someone had a panic sherbet and thought, it does look a bit like some kind of drug. So we just thought to ourselves, I wonder what would happen. And basically, all that happens is it stings a little bit, unless you've got a blocked up nose or a slight bit of moisture in your nasal cavity, in which case it gets a bit stuck and then burns a lot.
I imagine that's probably quite similar to actually taking cocaine.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I do recommend it, but let me watch.
Okay.
Well, you are the man who, I don't know, does that kind of stupid shit, like drinking vinegar straight out of a bottle.
A shot of vinegar, yeah, that was.
I think it was more than a shot.
It was in a shot glass.
A shot of
That's
vinegar
not the one I
can't be
was
that
thinking
bad.
of.
Oh, seriously, it nearly made me hurl.
I was thinking the one was
horrible.
Didn't you just take the top off the vinegar bottle?
Oh, it might have been. Yeah, it might have just been that. Actually, a mini shot.
Man,
it was not nice though. I sort of like went to the loo to try and wash my mouth out. It was
Yeah,
like,
you really puke.
Ew.
I quite like vinegar, but like just drinking it is not right.
No, don't just drink vinegar. Was it Sarson's malt vinegar or whatever that comes in those
Sausage and chips.
bottles?
Sausage and chips.
That's right, sauce. And at one point they changed the design, so because originally you screwed off the cap and it had a little plastic dripper, and you dripped onto the chips. And then they changed the design, so the dripper was built into the cap, and you had to flip up the cap. So if you unscrewed it like you used to, and then poured it onto your chips, you were screwed. It happened quite a few times to me and my dad, because you just did automatically what you used to do, unscrew it, and it's like, fail.
I'm now swimming in vinegar.
I guess
Pickled chips.
It's been enough years now that I know to actually flip up the cap, but even so at the time, it was really irritating. I bet they got quite a few letters and phone complaints for that. Like, don't do that without telling people.
So anyway, sign us out, Dan.
Right, thank you.
Let's log out from the podcast world of audio.
The podcast world of audio. I hope you've enjoyed our E3 special, given how uninformed a lot of us were. I think we talked about quite a few games, and I hope you enjoyed that.
It's quite possibly the worst E3 podcast ever made.
It's not that bad. Oh, it was all right. So
it's going to get worse.
Mostly, have you heard about this? No.
Yeah, well, don't come to us as your first news source. Come as
an alternative news source that's less reliable.
Yeah, we're not news. We're just discussion. So I hope you've enjoyed our discussion and join us again next time on the Saladcast.
Also, bear in mind we are now available to listen on podcast.com and Blueberry. So there.
That was
enjoy.
Pretty precisely timed advertising you stuck in at the end.
It's not precisely timed. We've got 15 seconds left.
That's a text message.
Going ding.
Have we finished?
You read that and we'll go away, like now-ish.